know my heart is bleeding, and I know this feeling's not fleeting. Your hugs were the best thing, just wrapped up in your strength. I'd give up to be there right now. I just want you back, we all want that. I just wish that you hadn't forgotten. I hate this disease, I hate human beings. We fall apart before we get broken. Lock myself in my room to listen to voices recorded. Don't walk outside to avoid being avoided. This feeling that comes with not having a purpose. If I find something soon, maybe I won't feel so worthless. I've always felt this rhythm, but I thought it'd be pointless. Playing music that's for rich folks, not a prophet of poignance. But pointless is a feeling that comes over me often. Though I keep going for a fear of not affording my own coffin. I know I sound sad, but I've got to be honest. It's soothing to me and it helps with my progress. If writing these songs helps me change, then I have to. Not even for me, but everyone that I matter to. I've got this feeling life won't always be like this. My dad said to me, it's your calling, your purpose. Walking through this life like a man with no shadow. Always by myself, just trying to find my way. I've got no idea of how to get this thing started. Looking for a way out never got me by. I'm so scared and I don't know what to do. All this medicine does is hide the truth. How could you be happy if you've got nothing to prove? So get up and get out there, son, what you got to lose. Walking through this life, forgetting strife in the rear view. Don't prolong the pain, I owe myself more than that. If I learned my lesson, could I go back to high school? Tell myself to have some fun, don't be so pent up. I'm so scared and I don't know what to do. All this medicine does is hide the truth. How could you be happy if you've got nothing to prove? So get up and get out there, son, what you got to lose. run hot water. My sights are skewed, forgive me, Father. Sent you a text over dramatic. Got the response I wish I hadn't. I feel ashamed beneath my sleeves. Too much has changed, I have to leave. I love my family, I love my friends. And as for you, some good things end. I've made mistakes, I wish I hadn't. Things don't just change, we make them happen. I proved a point, forgave my father. Became less bitter, cause love is softer. I think I'm going off the deep end. I think I took a left when I should've took a right at the bend. I think I'm looking at the wrong trends. All these different people around me and they're calling me friend. Come on man, let's just pass the time. From amphetamine to weed, all it takes is a drive. And it's alright, I got you this time. Let's just pick up something quick, I want out of my mind. I think I'll look into some new friends. Everyone I know seems to somehow trip me up in the end. I can't wait around until then. I can turn this thing around. I just need a place to begin. Come on man, let's just pass the time. From amphetamine to weed, all it takes is a drive. It's alright, I got you this time. Let's just pick up something quick, I want out of my mind. And life's just a race against time. Try and make something pretty before I die. And if I can make a dime off being honest, then I think I'll be fine. Stop stealing written on a little piece of paper. Cold turkey's what I thought. I said goodbye to my neighbor. I'm a little frantic, can't pull you no favors. But I'll smoke all of your weed and leave you with no papers. got enough to eat, and as for company, I don't have to go too far. Crashed my car last week and walked out with a new scar. I got people looking out for me, I guess I set a new bar. I never get that hurt, I guess you call that good luck. But if I'm writing honestly, I've never felt so stuck. I've been looking for work, but can't get past the loading truck. And school's just not for me, I'm in enough debt from my other bluffs. I can remember the taste of your bottom lip. I know that sounds a little messed up and sick. Can't stop reliving all the things that we did. You probably hate me for being such a stupid spoiled kid. I've tried to move on, write some new songs, but nothing's ever as good as a past. Could be my last chance to enhance my way of life, remove your heart and my mask. But I'm still leaving, sometimes seeing graduation with the rest of our class. And how I sat there with your mother, wondering if young relationships last. Our first I just keep calling on the help of my peers, but their success makes me distressed. Things will be better when I disappear, bouncing from city to state. Nothing feels great, I'm a committed disgrace. If I could get up, hold my chin up, confidence is just a bluff for the weak. Might take a peek in my self-pity to realize it's selfishness for the meek. Just take these pills, it makes it better, but withdrawals will make you seize up and tweak. You gotta buy it every month, we change the brand, it's more expensive this week. I'll hold my chin up, keep this grin up like my mother, she can worry like me. But if I have you, life is worth it, love is more than a contagious disease. I think of you, I think of me, a family, is this another pipe dream? But if these dreams mean anything, I'm gonna think whatever I want to think. I just can't convince myself to look. Why can't I be strong in the place where you read your books? I just can't rely on happenstance. Didn't say goodbye before you died, I should've took that chance. But you'll never leave me, no, my heart is bleeding, and I know this feeling's not fleeting. Your hugs were the best thing, just wrapped up in your strength. I'd give up to be there right now. I just want you back, we all want that. I just wish that you hadn't forgotten. I hate this disease, I hate human beings. We fall apart before we get broken. I just can't believe you're not here with me. We should be out back sitting underneath that willow tree. Talk and I'd be listening. I didn't take the time to read your mind before you forgot me. Okay. But you'll never leave me, no, my heart is bleeding, and I know this feeling's not fleeting. Your hugs were the best thing, just wrapped up in your strength. I'd give up to be there right now. I just want you back, we all want that. I just wish that you hadn't forgotten. I hate this disease, I hate human beings. We fall apart before we get broken. Lock myself in my room to listen to voices recorded. Don't walk outside to avoid being avoided. This feeling that comes with not having a purpose. If I find something soon, maybe I won't feel so worthless. I've always felt this rhythm, but I thought it'd be pointless. Playing music that's for rich folks, not a prophet of poignance. But pointless is a feeling that comes over me often. Though I keep going for a fear of not affording my own coffin. I know I sound sad, but I've got to be honest. to me, and it helps with my progress. If writing these songs helps me change, then I have to. Not even for me, but everyone that I matter to. I've got this feeling life won't always be like this. My dad said to me, it's your calling, your purpose. Walking through this life like a man with no shadow. Always by myself, just trying to find my way. I've got no idea of how to get this thing started. Looking for a way out, never.
Tell me when I'm live.
You are live, sir.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to a new edition of Friday Night Comfy Post with the ZGM Crew. Russ, one of the OGs of the Friday Night Comfy Post. We haven't done one of these in a long time.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. That's a fact, Wyatt. That's a fact. So we've got a couple people on this stream. We've got myself, we've got Russ, we've got Kyle from the Shoe Bros, which I think should be rebranded to Shoe Bros Unmuted. And we have my sister, actually, Shayna, who's one of the smartest, most well-read people I know. Shayna, how are you tonight?
Howdy.
Today?
Doing well. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to make my old fashioned, so very excited.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Nice. Now, Shayna is full on CrossFit and does not have mascara on, so she has opted out of video, which is totally understandable. I mean, I would totally opt out of video as well because it's just not really. I mean, I don't know. I'm not one of these. I'm not dressing up in drag and reading to children in libraries. So sometimes I think I'm a little unsightly, but such is the case that when you're hosting a show, video's not really an option. So, anyways, we have a couple of topics we're going to talk about. Pretty kind of free-flowing show, but I think the thing that's most pressing is Corona Chan. Also the oil price war, the sports Mageddon, everybody canceling sports events. If we want to talk about the stock market, we can. I know Shayna's knowledgeable on that as well, so that's kind of optional. We can throw that in. But
which by the way, thank God for Sports Mageddon, because the Stars are on a 6-game losing streak right now, and God intervened and called the season off. Thank you. Bless you, Corona Chan.
And not only that, Russ, but the Spurs were on the verge of not making the playoffs for the first time in 22 years. So them not finishing the seasons means they didn't miss the playoffs.
Fact. Fact.
So what do you think, Shannon? Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
All right, cool. So Corona Chan. Now I don't know if I'm personally infected by Corona Chan. I mean, I did say I love you, Corona Chan, in the thread, so I think I'm immune. But I am exhibiting some symptoms of what one might regard as Corona. So I don't know. Got a little.
Well,
cough.
Luke, can you got the coof? Can you red pill, dear listener, about what our buddy said to both of us 2 nights ago?
Yeah, sure. So I'm generally not one of these people that freaks out about things. I'm not too worried about things. I'm not showing up to the store buying toilet paper and this sort of thing. So my approach to this whole sort of thing has been one of two things. I either see it direct observably with my own eyes, which is problematic because when that's the case, generally speaking, it's already too late. Or a mutual friend of Russ and I, who's an expert on these kinds of matters, messages me and tells me I'm underestimating it. And he messaged me 2 days ago and said I'm underestimating it, and told me that I need to be prepared for certain things, need to have a few supplies in place. And so yeah, and actually the following day in Germany they canceled all the schools. So there's no grade school, university, all of it's been canceled at least till Easter. That's 5 weeks. My work has now, we've separated our entire company out into 2 groups.
Hey, Shayna, could you please cut that shit out kindly, most respectfully?
What did I do?
I'm hearing noise in the background, and I see everybody else, but I don't see you, and I hear you washing dishes.
I am mixing a drink, and I thought
okay,
you
fair
would
enough.
appreciate that.
That is
Background
permitted.
Noise.
My bad. That is entirely permitted.
I was like, damn, Russ.
That's like speaking to you, man.
My bad.
See, this is she's making noises, but it's still language.
Yeah, true.
I'll dial it down.
I misinterpreted. I simply misinterpreted, Shayna. I'm so sorry.
See, I'm over here being on my best behavior. Keep everybody.
The worst is done. The worst is done.
Keep everybody off
fine.
from being mad at each other.
Okay.
Here's Russ just going off. I'm loving it, man. Love it, Russ.
It's a stir. It's a stir at this point. It's not a shake. It's gonna be fine.
Okay, good. That's good.
It's either as long as it's either a protein shake or an old fashioned, we're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we're allowed.
Yeah. Noise allowed. You can monopolize the video stream with your noises. It's all good as long as it's either a protein shake or an old fashioned. No, but yeah. So anyways, yeah. So our company, we separated out into 2 different entities, and we're doing this like 1 week on, 1 week off thing where we're working remote, working at home. So it's definitely picked up steam here. It's not. I mean, I joked around on the last HSP. Shanna, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it, but I was joking around the last one and the one before about how I kind of, these sorts of events are sort of like, when the fire alarm gets pulled in school and you're like, ooh, cool, we get to go outside and maybe even we see some smoke.
Those were good times.
Yeah, but yeah, now I'm seeing smoke and I'm like, shit. So yeah, it's definitely a different climate here. I will say perhaps I might even venture to say I believe in climate change now.
So
wow, I thought the world really was going sideways, and now I'm convinced.
True.
Yeah.
So I can speak to Brian in College Station. And Shayna, I know you're in and around the area as well. But my company has now directed us to work from home if we can, which I can. So here's my office. Welcome to my office. And that's started. It technically started yesterday, but my boss was like, "Yeah." And then today, about 8 a.m., he was like, "Yeah, go ahead and just work from home." So, and then my wife and I at lunch, we tried to go get a couple little things, just a couple things. We didn't need anything crazy. We stocked up for the most part already. But we went ahead and tried to go get a couple things that, not necessary, but would be nice to have just in case this thing extends out. So we went and got some more dog food, went and got a couple more things. We went to the Sam's Club, and good God, I've never seen that parking lot so full. I've never seen the aisles so packed. And we tried going to Walmart last night. Same thing. All the toilet paper gone. All the paper towels gone. Majority of the water gone. I'm just like, people, water. We have running water. We're not losing power. Americans? We're not losing water. We got.
I mean, what is it with Americans and toilet paper?
I mean, so the only thing I can think of is that people are freaking out that they're going to have to stay at home. And they're going to use more of their own toilet paper instead of the company's toilet paper. So they needed to get more because now they're going to be utilizing more of it since they're working from home. Or
yeah, but Shayna probably can't identify with this experience, but I mean, who in college didn't shit and shower? when you didn't have toilet paper and you're too lazy to go buy
that's
some?
That's a hard no over here. Because I'm a lady.
Yeah, that might be a morning ritual for me. Who knows?
I might have done it in the core.
That's a hard limit. That's not even a soft limit.
But seriously, okay, well, Shayna, let me ask your opinion. Why is everyone obsessed with toilet paper? What's up with this?
I really don't know. I mean, there are 4 females in my home. And so I'm on Amazon auto delivery on the TP. And so we have a large amount of toilet paper at my house. And I always thought, man, I really ought to slow this thing down. But now I look like I'm
gotta slow the train down.
Like I went long on toilet paper, and it's really paying off.
Good.
Paying dividends.
Good.
I mean, I could understand like if it were female, specifically female products, that might be something. But I don't know, toilet. It's like you can use something. You get resourceful when you run out of toilet paper.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean.
You need to just shower as appropriate when you're done. I mean, I don't know. I'm
the full body bidet.
Exactly. I'm like, I wonder if all the bidets at Home Depot are sold out too.
I actually talked to my wife about this would be the time to invest in a bidet right now.
It is. I mean, if you're really that worried about it.
She's like, no, I won't do it. I've done those and I hate them and I'm never doing them again. I'm like, why? They pinprint you, like they get you exactly where it was dirty? She goes, yeah, I ain't doing it again. I'm like, okay, well, makes sense. But Shayna, I did see your post about that the other night, and I was joking around on it, and I was like, you got any of that toilet paper, 2-ply? The little Dave Chappelle scratching thing.
Is something that Americans are very concerned about.
Yeah, I saw a funny meme the other day, or I think it was yesterday, and it was somebody had taken. I guess they were a drug dealer, and they had taken. You know how like drug dealers they weigh out like their weed and their cocaine and stuff on like a little like food scale, and it says like the exact amount of grams that it is. Well, they had like instead of putting drugs in there, they had like a half unwound roll of toilet paper, and then like 3 sheets of toilet paper weighed on that thing. And then off to the side, it was like little plastic baggies full of toilet paper that they were going to go deal out,
I saw one where it was...
we're going to ration. We're going to ration at my house for sure. You get 3 squares of white.
Yeah. I saw one that was welcome to my DIY show, and they took a roll of paper towels and cut it in half, and ta-da! But still don't flush paper towels. It's not good for your toilet system.
Yeah. I suspect that I'm gifted somehow, but a roll of toilet paper lasts me about 2 to 3 months. One lasts me 2 to 3 months,
man.
Yeah.
Are you
and I blow my nose in that shit. That's my Kleenex. That's my ass wipe.
Are you getting an industrial roll of toilet paper?
No, sir. It's just I get the Target toilet paper. That's what I get. Yeah. So
Jesus, dude.
My ex-wife could go through a roll of toilet paper a day. I was so like that was one of the things when we got divorced. I was like, cool. I save money on toilet paper.
Crazy.
So about this corona, so I mean, here in Germany, it's kind of picking up. But what's going on there over stateside? Here's the thing. It's like I think Americans like freak out about everything. I think that's the American way. But here in Germany, it's like your grandparents were in World War II, bombs being dropped, and complete embargo on everything. So Germans can grow all their own food within their own borders. So it's like, unless the Russians are invading, Germans are sort of just kind of like, whatevs. To some extent, the grocery stores were a little chaotic today, running out a lot of things. But I mean, my God, the Americans, they have half the number of infections and 3 times the number of people. So statistically, they're way behind the curve in terms of infection rates, and in my opinion, way ahead of the curve in other countries in terms of getting out in front of the infection. So what's are people freaking out over there? What's going on? I'll pass it to you, Russ.
Yeah, I can anecdotally say people are freaking out. They're freaking out too late. Too late. It's too late. Yeah, the Walmarts are out. The Targets are sold out. It's about like that. And we national state of emergency now. You know this, right?
Yeah,
The God
yeah, I saw
Emperor.
that.
Yeah, dropped it today. So I only suspect that this will continue and increase. But it's funny to me, the sense of last state of panic, right? Because that's got to be Ross. That's got to be Ross. No.
Oh no, that was Kyle. I think you're saying your mic's a little hot. That's what.
Oh,
he was
is it? Okay, I'll bring it down. I'll bring it down. Sorry, Kyle.
No, I'm just trying to. That's why I chatted to you on the thing so you could do it
Thank you.
next time
Thank
you got done talking.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yes,
test,
sir.
test. Okay. So the sense of last state of the moment, panic, I find entirely irrational, and I think that what is remaining unsaid here is the politicization of all of this, right? When it was politicized, which it was from the very beginning, as soon as they could try to hang it around the neck of President Trump, then people began to panic. And the rest of my commentary, I will leave for later. The rest of my commentary is about how President Trump handled things.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ross, I was actually about to message you. I saw Kyle message you. Yeah, I think you could bring it back up just a little, but not where it was before. But anyways, yeah, I totally agree. It's interesting. We talked about this, and Shayna, I'll pass this off to you because I'm interested in your take on this as well. We had talked a few episodes ago on HSP about how the left had one vector through which they could attack Trump left. And they sort of, in my opinion, in my take, the way I see it is they've sort of redesigned this, repackaged it in such a way that they can use it as a vector to attack Trump, driving the economy into the ground in this sort of thing. And I don't know. That's how I see it. I think Russ, you probably agree. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, 100%. Yeah.
I don't know, Shayna. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I tend to agree. Just Americans love a good crisis, and it's been a long time since we've had one.
I mean, we love happenings.
We do. We got to have stuff going on. I mean, when flu was going around, flu still is going around, and still I think has much more of an impact at this point in the U.S. than Corona. But I mean, listening to parents at our kids' school, it was like, when are they going to shut down school? Like, the school is disgusting. It needs to be, sanitized, and it's gross, and our kids are all sick. And, so now our school, my kids go to a charter school. So the charter school has shut down for 2 weeks. We just getting off of spring break, and we're closed for 2 more weeks. And 1 week is going to be no school. And then just because we're a charter school and we've got some special things, all the kids get issued Chromebooks, so they all have laptops. So that second week, we're still going to be out of school, but they're going to have access to internet classes. They're going to continue teaching, but it's all going to be over the internet, which I think is pretty cool. But anyway, so then all the parents are like, this is such an overreaction. I can't believe they're closing down the school. And I'm like, you just said like 2 weeks ago that we need to shut down the school and sanitize everything. We're doing everything you want. So I think people just need something to worry about, need something to gripe about, always need to be discussing something and be incensed about something. And that's what this is. I will, on the politicization side, if Bernie Sanders gets up there one more time and says, we need to be doing this with scientists and not with politicians, and I'm like, then why don't you shut up and let a scientist talk? Dang. Move on.
Totally.
.org. Come on. So anyways.
Kyle, what about you?
So my wife's school is got a second spring break. They're going to be going in.
And your wife's a teacher, yeah?
Yeah, my wife's teacher. So she's going to get a second spring break, which she's happy as can be because she went to Colorado on her first spring break. So now she gets a more relaxing at-home spring break. She's enjoying that. But the reason that they're deciding to close down for that extra week is a lot of her kids actually live with their grandparents. So if they were to get it and then go home to their grandparents and their grandparents get it, there's a high likelihood the grandparent ain't making it. Because, it's the mortality rate, the older you are, the higher the mortality rate. People 60 and over is where it's really actually, killing people. 60 and younger and without a compromised immune system, you're going to get sick, you're going to feel like crap, but you'll get better. It's just like the flu. You'll be fine.
Still an element of Russian roulette there. Yeah.
I mean, the flu killed 18 grand already this year or this flu season. So, I mean, it's not like the flu is not to be worried about either. But the Wu flu or Corona Chan or whatever y'all want to call it today, COVID-19,
Wuhan Corona,
it definitely impacts the elder population a lot harsher than it does the younger generation. So that's why at least the Bryan ISD is decided to put the halt on it for now. They'll reevaluate here soon, but A&M has closed campus for another week, and then they're going online only for the foreseeable future. Blinn is doing the same. Apparently, a lot of Texas universities are the exact same way. So it's definitely being a measured response. Keeping people out of groups of 75 or bigger is the main focus right now. Trying to make sure that if it does get infected, at least it's a small group and it's not this gigantic large group like the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, which coincidentally enough, there was somebody at the barbecue contest that had it, got tested positive, but apparently that person stayed in their little tent and didn't go out. So I was at that contest that night, but they didn't contact me. No one's gotten in touch with me saying, hey, you might want to go get tested. So it's nice to know that, at least the person was responsible and stayed in their own tent, but it would have been nice if they'd have just stayed the hell home.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely impacts the elderly more. There's a higher mortality rate, but the difference between the flu and this is that, we have a vaccine for the flu. We don't have a vaccine for this. It's also highly contagious in the sense that you don't know that you have it for 14 days and you're spreading it like crazy to other people during that time. So there are things about COVID-19, Corona Chan, Wu flu, Kung flu, whatever you want to call it, that are uniquely that set it apart as being unique from other diseases, other viruses. I can say here in Germany, so I've been watching it very closely because it's exploding here in Germany. Trump announced the travel ban. I think that was a good announcement. I yesterday was weighing whether or not I should Jessica on a plane to the United States, and here I could tie up loose ends, get our animals in order, figure out how the hell to get them over to the U.S. and get the hell out of here. I was legitimately considering that over the previous 24 hours. We decided against it. I've got connections with the Ramstein Air Force Base, the Landstuhl Air Force Base, or Landstuhl Army Base. We could go there if needed. If it got really bad, but it's to that point that we're having to consider these kinds of things. But in monitoring all of this, I've narrowed the type of people who are contracting the virus down to 4 groups here in Germany, and I would assume the same for Italy and other places as well. And the 4 groups are refugees. We actually have Chinese refugees fleeing China to Europe now. So Chinese refugees, and this is the first I've heard of Chinese refugees. They're coming to Europe now, and they're bringing corona with them. And when they get into the refugee camps, then another outbreak happens, and all the refugees get it in the refugee camp. So that's one demographic, in my opinion, a very natural spread. Then there's another demographic, which is grade school children. The German government just canceled all the grade schools. And there's another demographic, which is the university kids. And frankly, I would be doing the same thing. They're going out to clubs. They're still partying, drinking, hanging out, making out with each other, having sex with each other, doing all of these things, as if they don't care. So frankly, that's a very natural occurrence. And then the other one, the fourth one, the final one, is Germans traveling to other countries, northern Italy, going on ski trips, going to France, and then bringing it back with them. And so those are the four demographics. And so the question, the problem that we're posed with here is how to isolate those four groups of people. But I don't even think anybody's asking those questions because, I don't even think anybody's asking those questions. I think they're let's just desocialize in general, as opposed to identify the groups of people. I think that would be a more measured approach. Ross, what's up, man? I saw you just joined.
Yeah, guys, got about 15, 20 minutes to spend with you. So, happy to join. Just got off the road and like to talk to you guys for a few minutes and see what's up.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on Corona-chan, coronavirus? What other Kung Flu, Wuhan? I mean, I know that. Who was it, Russ? Help me out. Who was it that was called racist for calling it Wuhan virus?
Mike Pompeo.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. Right. It was the shitlib CNN reporter.
So I'm guessing you said Russ there. I'm sorry, I heard Russ. I'm not trying to step on your toes when he said that.
No problem.
I thought he said Ross, so I answered the question, and then I saw you going. So
no problem.
We need very different ways to pronounce your names. Did you ever see the Shayna? I know you saw this. Did you ever see the National Lampoon's European Vacation?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, when the German girls, she was like, or no, the French girl, she was like Russ.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say
maybe that's how I need to pronounce your name now, Ross.
I was going to say since
cool.
Ross and I have kind of doxed ourselves in the fact that our show is our last name, you can just call him Shoe Ross or something of that nature to just differentiate between him. Because Russ, as far as I know, Russ has not doxed himself in providing his last name. So,
I did on Twitter for a moment, and Luke and Shady Nate corrected me quickly. And so
it was so funny because Russ was like, he's like, man, I don't know about Twitter. I don't know if I want to get on there, man. Blah, blah, blah. And then, so like Russ, after all this time, he finally gets on Twitter, and it's like first name, middle initial, last name, zero gravity. Meaning, like, dude, that was kind of, accelerationist.
Mother's maiden name of first pet, city you first visited, all that, right?
Yeah.
Indeed, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So, I going back to your question, Luke, for me, I think there's a little bit of hypocrisy coming from both sides here. For me, seeing Trump get on Twitter and say, oh, this is Obama's fault, I don't see the point in that. I don't see the logic in that because what good does that serve? Like how many test kits has that provided by saying Trump did or and then on the left doing the exact same thing saying this is Trump's fault? Well, that's obviously not true either. Trump didn't create this. Trump didn't spread this. It's not Trump who did this. And like we talked about last night, look, these issues come about almost every presidency. And I alliterated it to chess. Trump was playing chess with the Democrats for the last 3 years, and then all of a sudden this comes by and just wipes the board clean. And now we've got to start playing all over again. But unfortunately, it's an issue, and we need both sides to just come together for a minute, stop trying to put poison pills in every bill, and just pass clean funding to help states and help companies build test kits and take care of the people who need to be taken care of. Understand that at this point in time, it doesn't matter whether your neighbor is a liberal, whether your neighbor is a socialist, whether your neighbor is anything, they are your neighbor. And it's time for us to start looking after our neighbors a little bit and start helping out where we can. That doesn't mean go give them $1 billion, but hey, let's not get in toilet paper fights in Walmart.
Yeah. Shana, I'm gonna pass it off to you here in a second. I just want to say in response very quickly, Ross. Now I'm getting confused, Ross. That I totally agree with you. The problem with the left that we're seeing in this context, and this can apply to many different contexts, but the problem is, in philosophy, there's this. I don't know if anybody's heard of this, but like the is-ought gap. In other words, like what is the case and what one ought to do about it, right? And in this instance, what is the case is that the left is blinded by hatred. And so what they think that they ought to do is do anything that can damage Donald Trump, damage the country, damage Americans. In other words, their premise is what damage can be done to the American people so that they can reap so that they can profit off of that, so to speak. It's not a profit, but you know what I mean. So that they can benefit off of that later in an election cycle come this fall. So they fundamentally, their premises govern their toxic attitude towards Corona, towards the economy, towards all of these things, in the sense that to the extent that these things are bad and damage the country is the extent to which they will benefit from it. So I agree with you, but I think it's important to point out that they want these things to happen. They want school shootings so that they can have a reason to talk about gun control, because they don't care about children dying and schools becoming dangerous. They care about gun control. It's a means to an end. Shana, that was a provocative position that I just laid out to pass it to you. So I apologize about that. But
no, I actually, back to Russ's point about, Ross. Wait, who am I talking to?
Ross.
Either or. We'll both respond.
We're going to call you the Rosser. So anyways,
okay.
That is the point you made about, let's pass clean bills. I mean, the coronavirus bill I had heard and somebody's going to have to fact check me on this, but Nancy Pelosi's got billions for her district earmarked in that right? And it's like, this is the problem. This is what we're talking about. And this is why you're so out of control, because you want to be the one that stands up there and says, look at all the Republicans who didn't sign off on the Corona bill because, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, maybe they didn't want to sign off on it because it gave billions of dollars to your district, but it's so ugly and dirty the way
and Shanna, to be fair, not just to her district, but also to federally funded abortion as well, right?
Oh, now, nice. I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, plus paid family leave for life.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Pass a clean bill. Pass something clean and do what you're supposed to do. This is why you're up there. And if you keep putting all this pork in all these bills, this is why we have trillions and trillions of dollars in debt.
Yeah, for sure. And that was my point, that they're not concerned about solving a problem. They're concerned about other ends. Now, we need to shift gears because Ross, the Rosser, has a limited window of time here. And I'm clearing my throat. Maybe I do have Corona. He's got a limited window of time here. So we want to talk about the oil price wars. So let's shift gears here. I want to hear I want to hear Ross's opinion on this.
So I mean, I guess let's start with the history of it. So oil is a commodity that trades at wildly varying prices based on current production levels. Lately, in the last 4 years, we've kept the price of oil somewhere between $50 and $60 a barrel due to OPEC bringing down their production rates, Venezuela having issues with their production, not being able to produce out of Venezuela. Russia's production has fallen way down from what it was in the past because they refuse to adopt any type of fracking or any type of shale playing. They just still want to go with conventional drilling. But Saudi Arabia and the United States have been able to ramp up production pretty much at will when necessary. So, of course, we have a lot of shale play in the United States. We have a lot of fracking in the United States. In Saudi Arabia, I mean, literally, you just poke a hole in the ground. It's like the Beverly Hillbillies, right? Up comes the bubbling crude. And, Saudi Arabia can really dictate the global market as the leader of OPEC. So what's happened lately is the Rosenaft, I may not be pronouncing that correctly, Trump placed some tariffs, not tariffs not the right word. What word am I looking at here, Luke? Help me out. He placed some, he fined some members of some Russian oil companies for doing some bad things.
Embargoes?
Not embargo.
It sounds to me like
sanctions.
No, I was about to say economic sanctions, but
sanctions.
I was trying to say like it could be punitive tariffs, but yes, that would be sanctions. Yeah.
Sanctions. Sorry, I'm just coming off the field. I left this morning, and I was up at 2 a.m. doing some other stuff. You're welcome,
You're good,
Luke.
man. You're good. You're great again. Yeah.
So anyway, he placed some sanctions on them. So Saudi Arabia and the OPEC members had a meeting, and Saudi Arabia said, look, we want the price of oil to come up. We want to see $75, $80 barrel oil. So what we want is all OPEC members to cut their level of production. Now, Russia is not an OPEC member officially, but they do go to the meetings. They do attend the meetings. Well, Russia absolutely refused to cut back its production whatsoever. They were even hesitant to remain at current levels of restricted production. They wanted to go full tilt on the production, and the real reason behind this is that the United States, because we don't have national oil companies like Saudi Arabia, like Venezuela, like Chile, like in Ecuador, like almost all other oil-producing nations have a national oil company, whereas we have all these individual producers. We can't control our individual producers, right? We can't tell them to turn up or down their production. That would be collusion. That's illegal in the United States. But OPEC, because it's nationally, they can decide to raise or lower their levels of production. So Russia said, look, the United States isn't going to lower its production. We're not going to lower ours. So Saudi said, fine, you want to play that game, we'll screw you totally. So Saudi went and offered the Chinese a $7 to $10 per barrel discount on barrels of oil, and simultaneously flooded the market. So they went from producing anywhere between 8 to 9 million barrels a day to producing 12 million barrels per day, which is, when you add another 3 million barrels to the market, it absolutely just tanked the price of oil. Now, oil has started to creep back up to a relative medium, but we're still looking at a very depressed market, and we're looking at a seismic standoff between Russia and Saudi on who's going to blink first here, and who is going to either Russia's going to agree to drop its production, or Saudi Arabia is going to agree to not give the price discount to the Chinese that's flooding the market.
So let me ask you this, or does anybody else have any questions or comments on that? Because I have a question, but I want to offer it.
Entirely correct. Entirely. 100%. Yeah.
Anybody else, Shayna, before I ask a question?
That was a great explanation, and I have nothing to add. It was awesome.
Okay.
Don't give Ross too big a head, though.
It's already huge, dude. 7 7/8 over here.
Same here. I'm 7 7/8, bro.
Yeah,
damn.
It's big, dude.
Cut
Let's
your
not
hair,
compare
wouldn't be
head
so big.
sizes.
That was military. That was short hair, man.
So I have to ask Ross. I mean, there's elements of this that are both good and bad.
Yep.
It's good in the sense that fossil fuels are, in our context today, given the technology that we have, the food of food. They make food possible on the scale that we have. They make technology possible on the scale that they have. They make life as we know it today, modern civilization, possible as we know it today, to the extent that we harness fossil fuels. So in that sense, one could argue that, well, that's great. Let them engage in a price war, bring down the prices. Our lives are better off. Food is cheaper. Everything's cheaper. Yet there are millions of individuals in the United States who make money from producing oil. We have a whole, huge industry, especially in Texas, which is based on fossil fuel production. So I just want to ask, I mean, in terms of net benefit, what are our threats here? What are our opportunities? What's the outlook here when weighing both of those against each other?
So I will say the consumer benefit is going to be a short-term benefit. So yes, cheaper fuel, cheaper oil means cheaper electricity. It means cheaper fuel. It means cheaper synthetics. It means cheaper crops because the farmers aren't going to pay as much. There's a lot of things there. But what's going to happen in the long term is you're going to see a consolidation of power with the major oil companies in the United States. You're going to see Shell, Exxon, Chevron, Oxy. Oxy's already going in the buying warpath. You're going to see these guys go buying up all these minor producers. So what this is going to end up doing in the long term, once the price starts to come back up, is it's going to hurt our ability to produce at the current levels we are because we won't have as many individual producers in the market. So it's going to consolidate the market power to the major players in the industry. What that then means is they'll be able to dictate prices. They'll be able to do a lot more when it comes to production levels. And like with any commodity, it's supply versus demand. As the price comes down, demand is going to escalate. But once that demand starts to escalate and the supply starts to fall, which is going to take a year to see that repercussion, right? It's not going to happen overnight. Drilling is not stopping. Okay, guys, I'm out here in West Texas. I work on drilling rigs. We're still drilling for oil. We didn't stop because the price went down. There's hedges in this market. All the majors have hedges contracts with the buyers, so they're still able to sell their oil at a decent price. They're not selling their oil at whatever market price is. So I'm sorry, my camera turned off there. Sorry, guys. They're not selling their oil for whatever market price is. They're selling their oil at the hedge price. But it'll be interesting to see how long we stay at these prices and when their contracts come up to re-hedge. Does that affect their next contract? That will then tell us whether or not we're going to stop producing, we're going to stop drilling new oil. Wells that are currently in production will continue to produce. But go ahead.
What prevents the large players from buying these companies up now?
Because the small companies right now are making enough money that they don't want to sell. Their asset prices. So oil well is an asset, right? So if I think that my well will produce 1 million barrels over the life of itself, I'm going to discount that back to today's earnings, and then I'm going to want to sell that well for a percentage or a large percentage of what I think that well would make over its lifetime for today's earnings. But when the price of that oil goes down, that means the price of that asset has dropped. So when you're at $80 a barrel oil and you think you have 1 million barrels, you think you have $800 million. But when you are at $20 a barrel, you're at $200 million. So that's a wide swing. And the other part of that is these companies, to continue drilling is very expensive. What most people don't see is it's between $15 to $20 million to drill an oil well. By the time you drill it, by the time you put pipe in it, by the time you cement it, by the time you frack it, you're looking at about 15 to 20 million startup costs. That's before you see a dime back from that well. So these guys are leveraging debt, and they're using those assets as the collateral on those debts. So as they're no longer able to use those assets as collateral, that oil as collateral, they're no longer going to have access to credit. They're going to get butt up in debt, and they're going to need ways out of it. They're going to need ways out of it that it's either going to be bankruptcy or it's going to be selling off your assets.
God, dude. Ross, you just red-pilled. Like me.
Straight up.
Yeah. Well done, dude.
So
it's interesting to know because go ahead, sorry, Kyle.
I'm in a group with some people that is way smarter than me, and I'm sure Shayna could speak to this more. But,
so you're in a group with just random people?
Yes, it's a TexAgs group. TexAgs group. So people that are way smarter than me, know their shit. when this first started happening, a lot of people were like, "Hey, ExxonMobil's down to $42 a share. Should we buy up ExxonMobil?" Because they've been paying dividends without fail, and been doing all this. And then a couple of the smarter people chimed in and said they're so debt leveraged right now. And since you hit on this subject, they're so debt leveraged right now. I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. So where do you see that for your company, for ExxonMobil? I'm not going to, out you on what company you work for.
Please don't, yeah.
But, where do you see that impacting, all the bigger players that are as debt leveraged as they are right now? Is that going to prevent them from buying up these smaller companies? Is it going to let the smaller companies grow a little bit since they're not as debt leveraged? Where do you see that happening? And Shayna, if you have any comments on that, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I want to hear Shayna. Yeah, I want to hear both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Let Ross answer, and then Ross, you probably have to go here in a few minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, not too much longer. Yeah, but
So Ross, why don't you answer, and then we'll pass it off to Shayna.
So you got to remember, from the financial perspective, the majors have a longer history. So they're still the banks are going to defer to them and give them more access to credit than they're going to give to minor players who've only been in the market for a few years. It's like with anything else. If you have a long credit history, if you've been, taking out credit and paying it off for the last 70, 80 years, you're more likely to get future credit than if you've only been in the market for 10 years. And you look at being, and also we have to look at reserves. All oil companies have a certain amount of reserves. They keep reserves in the bank so that if something like this happens, they're able to, pay debt for a while. Chevron, Exxon, Shell, Mobil, those companies are going to be able to hang on longer than the miners are. They're not going to have as much in reserves. They're more reliant on the current assets in order to continue paying bills, and they need to have access to future credit to continue to drill. Whereas Shell, Exxon, those guys, they have enough in the market that they can keep off. Also, they have more leverage in hedge contracts. Because they're the bigger players, because they have higher levels of production, when they go to the market, when they go to the buyers, at the refineries, and they say, this is, we want a contract to hedge our oil, they have more leverage in that market. They're able to command better prices from those people for longer terms, for better terms. So they again, the hedging is going to prevent them from having the immediate downturn that everybody's predicting. So I want to be wary here, because we are seeing a downturn in oil production in the United States, but that was an already anticipated downturn. We already had thought that the market would go down in the first and second quarter of 2020 and the third quarter of 2019. We expect quarter 3 of 2020 to have a rebound and us to see rig counts come back. But with this depressed market, we may not see that anymore. We're starting to batten the hatches and expect that maybe we don't see as early a recovery as we thought we would. That's not saying that we're massively laying people off. That's not saying that we're going into sell-off mode. That's just saying that, we're wary of the situation because we remember 2014. We remember what happened then, and we're just expecting. So honestly, our expectation at the moment, or at least my expectation, is that once coronavirus has become a thing of the past, or at least is in a controllable phase, we'll see Trump go to Saudi. We'll see him cut a deal with them for defense spending or something that will get them to come off this demand with Russia and make nice in the market, quit flooding the market, quit offering the discount to China, and allow the prices to equalize back over the break-even point.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And by the way, I think, I just want to make the obvious point. This oil price war between Saudi and Russia excludes the United States. Everybody's been texting me, oh my God, the market's going down. Oil is so cheap. Oh my God. Right? No, it's not about us. It's about them. It's about them,
Well, I mean, we had a part to play with it in the sanctions. That Russia's really upset about those sanctions. If you look at a lot. If you look at a lot of the anti-fracking propaganda that comes out, it can be traced back to Russian origins. The Russians hate U.S. fracking. They want to get rid of U.S. fracking because it gives us a technological advantage in the market that they can't go after, right? They're not able to achieve the results with shale like we are because they don't have these fields that we have that allows us to access the oil in that way. Their recovery rates are much lower than ours. And also, their oil is not as high a quality as the oil that us or Saudi Arabia produces.
Fact.
Yeah. Shayna, what are your thoughts? And Ross, before you bounce out, man, be sure to say bye.
I don't have a whole lot to add to all of that because, quite honestly, I'm learning from you, Ross. This is good stuff. And I don't want to comment specifically on companies, by name, but I will say just a simple fact is there's only a couple, I believe it's 4, AAA rated companies in the world in terms of their debt and their credit rating, and Exxon's one of them. So there's not many of them, and so take that,
What
factor
goes
in your own opinions on the rating agencies and whatnot. But that's
what goes into it? What goes into that credit rating? What's considered that like what would it? Yeah. So what are the criteria upon which a company would be judged to achieve that kind of a credit rating? Just out of curiosity, because I'm not aware.
Financial position analysis, debt, shareholders' equity, all that kind of stuff that goes into it. They do a lot of research and look at their liabilities, short-term, long-term, cash flow, all that as well, and factor it all in. And there's a couple of ratings agencies out there, and they didn't get it right during 2008. A lot of them didn't.
They were paid not to get it right. In fact,
well,
yeah.
Thank you for saying that, because I tend to believe that probably some of that goes on. But say what you will about them. I mean, if you're going to try to assign a metric to something, that's a good one to consider. So,
I mean, if it comes down to cash flow, I'm sure Ty Lopez is quadruple A.
Right. Shayna, I would like to hear your comment about the effect of Kung Flu on the markets versus the oil price war on the market, on the Dow. All the markets, all of them, right? Because that's your area of expertise, and I'm curious about it.
Yeah, it's been a pretty rough couple of weeks here. I'll say that for sure. I think the general consensus across financial services as a whole is this is what panic looks like, and this could be an opportunity for someone who, has the right goals and has the right perspectives and has the right opinion about, where we're going. I mean, fundamentals were strong before this. I think, once we get past the initial reactions on what does this do to, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo was canceled. They're canceling all these sports tournaments. They're canceling this, they're canceling that. Once we get kind of past the, what's been the effect of that. I mean, I've spent just this much this week on groceries and, clothes and stuff that I spent last week. Right. And so and to the point about oil, I mean, just because somebody's starting to get $1.50 at the pump doesn't mean they're going to save the other 50 cents and put it away. They're going to find something else to blow that on.
Yeah.
They're going to
toilet paper.
Well,
toilet paper, apparently.
And the consumer confidence survey came out today, and it's still as high as it was last year or last month. The consumers are still just as confident that the markets are going to continue. The inconfidence is in healthcare, but as far as going to Walmart and buying toilet paper, people still expect that when they go to I went to Walmart just on the way here. Milk, eggs, bacon, all that was plentiful on the shelves. Thank God we don't live in a socialist country.
What about toilet paper?
I've seen a lot. Hold on, I've seen a lot of comments on my Facebook feed lately about this is what socialism would feel like potentially. It's panic all the time, and it's get whatever you can and step over your brother to get to it.
Indeed.
So
yeah. It's in a socialist society where in which man is pitted against man. Everyone is pitted against each other. It's in a capitalist society in which everyone is protected from one another, and it's only in that sort of an environment in which one can harbor benevolence toward their fellow man. In any other context, it's nothing but animosity, threat, and fear.
And just a side note, and this is a conversation we could circle back to later. I don't even care if it's today or later on, but I have an exchange student in my home right now who's from Spain. And so she, like you, Luke, has been living in a socialist world for her entire life. And she gets to Texas and she's like, oh my God, Like, why do people in Europe think this is the way to go when look at it here? I mean, so
Yeah, totally.
it's, I mean, the evidence is there for sure. So sorry, we can get back to whatever.
Well, I wanted to make one point before I have to go, and that's
okay.
I'm sorry, Russ.
No, you're good. You're good.
So we saw AOC come out on Twitter today and say, well, see, South Korea, they've done so good with the virus. This is what it looks like when you have a single-payer healthcare system, because South Korea does. And then, of course, she got torched because China, Italy, all the major Nordic, Swedish countries that are having issues, all of those are single-payer systems too.
Germany,
the difference is Germany in South Korea, the reason they were able to market this so fast and get rid of it is that they let the individual pharmaceutical companies, the biotech companies that are housing in South Korea, they let them go nuts on the research and development of test kits and other things, and that's why they were able to ramp up production so quickly. We're having issues with production here based on the FDA not approving test kits. And everybody says, oh, well, Europe already had a test kit. We now have found out that test kit provides a 48% false negative rating.
Yep.
So that means it's super unreliable that, yes, you can test people, but there's a 50-50 chance you give them the wrong diagnosis. If you say they're negative, you send them out into the world to go infect another 100 people. So it was, yes, there's a wish and desire on my side that we could have ramped up production a little faster, but governmental red tape prevents that, and single-payer system would make it even worse.
Well, we national emergency now, so production is ramped up as of now. So
guys, I've got to go. My honey-do list is long, but I hope you all have a good conversation, and we'll talk to you next time, okay?
Hey, Ross, how do we find you on Twitter?
What's that?
Right.
How do we find you on Twitter?
So you can find me at Ross Schumann. I'm totally doxing myself. I don't care. At ROSSSCHUMANN on Twitter. Feel free, guys, and also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're clicking all notifications. We love to come together to have these conversations, but it's a lot more fun when there's people chatting with us live on YouTube, and we get to respond to them in real time. So please do subscribe to us. Please do check that all notification box and help us to continue to get better and better and grow and grow.
All right,
thanks for joining,
brother.
Ross.
Yeah. Y'all have a great day.
All right.
Bye.
Late.
All right. So, Shayna, I have to, Luke, with your permission, may I redirect to Shayna a little bit?
Yeah. Go for it, dude.
All right. Shayna, so, is it oil or is it Kung Flu that is driving down the markets?
Or is it the media?
Just so you know, you might hear in the background I'm making a second old fashioned. So
okay, well, thanks for the warning.
If it
That's okay. It's permissible.
Ears.
It's permissible.
Only if you bring me one, Shayna.
First one was just so good,
and I'm close enough that could happen.
This is true. This is very true.
It's plausible. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
if only old fashions were as contagious as the coronavirus, I'd be totally down with it.
That's right. But yeah, Chad got me a really cool ice mold for Christmas. It's like little diamond. It looks like a diamond, so it's ice in the shape of a diamond.
I got one for Christmas too. It's cute. It's cute.
It's super cute. So
that's awesome.
I'm feeling like $1 million right now. So anyway, so the question was like, what's causing this? And oil would have. I don't know. Oil would have, I think, caused a little bit of volatility in the market. I like I said earlier, I think this is just a perfect storm. You also can't discount all the electronic traders out there who have been bored out of their mind for the last, several years in this good market. And so
God forbid you make money slowly.
I know. We got to do it faster and better. And, so, I mean, who knows how many, trading algorithms are out there that have been triggered in all of this, and
millions.
So, yeah,
but I think
so it's just I think it's a perfect storm of a bunch of different things. And,
but I think Russ is the heart of, and Russ, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the spirit of Russ's question is like, what do you think is the prevailing cause, right? So is it oil? Is it Kung Flu? Is it the media blowing it all up? Or is it just the constellation of all of them together?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was the spirit of the question.
I think okay, so this is my personal opinion, is it has more to do with coronavirus than it has to do with oil prices.
I agree.
Because
Yeah.
I think I think what people are seeing is if you shut down the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and if you shut down sporting events, and if you shut down this and shut down that and shut down schools, and everybody's working from home, and productivity is going to drop, and people aren't going to be spending, they're going to be holing up in their homes scared and not doing anything, and the economy will suffer as a result of this. Boom, we've got a recession. Boom, we've got this, blah, blah, blah. And I just, I find all that hard to believe. Like I said before, I think people are still going to spend on stuff. And I don't think at the end of the day, will it keep people from going to some restaurants, and will it keep people from taking the Disney cruise this summer and
going to my Irish pub? Hell no.
I think Luke, you and I can agree. We will be on that ship no matter what.
I will be on that damn ship. Corona. I mean, I'll be.
It'll be 200 crew members to one passenger, and we're gonna love it.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
So
kidding.
Anyways, that's I don't know. That's the long and short of it. Is I think people are looking at what impact is this going to have on the economy as a whole, not so much one sector of oil. Although if it was just oil by itself, I think the market would have had volatility. So
yeah, for sure.
The reason I ask is that is Rush's premise. It's all about oil. And I happen to agree with you, Shayna. I think it is much more complex than the price of oil. And
to be clear, because we got Ross and Russ on the show, but you said Rush.
Yeah.
So you're saying Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Rush Limbaugh's premise is that this is all about oil.
It's all about oil. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't hijack our crisis for something else.
Yeah. How dare you?
No
crisis can go to waste.
How dare you, Russia and Saudi Arabia, try to jack our crisis and make it your own?
You damn
Get your
right.
own crisis.
Get
your own
honey.
crisis.
You damn right.
Luke, was it you that I was joking around with the other day that we should jokingly tell people that the best way to kill coronavirus is to drink bleach?
That was definitely not me.
Okay, well, I know I was joking around with somebody regarding that, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because CBS Austin just released a article from the Poison Control saying, do not drink bleach to kill the coronavirus.
Yeah, that had to have been some TikTok trend.
Hashtag not the onion. Hashtag not the onion.
Hashtag not Babylon Bee.
Yeah, it's like when not convincing your friend to jump off the ground and sweep their feet out from under them, so then they get a posterior concussion and they're brain damaged for life. Oh well, then convince them to drink bleach so they're immune from coronavirus. It's the new TikTok trend.
Why isn't there a run on vodka? That's what I want to know. Like, why is it toilet paper and not vodka?
Right.
It's just a universal item that should be in any bug out kit.
I swear to God, Shayna, today, Jessica was like, do we really need that other bottle of rum? And I was like, yeah. We were grocery shopping today. And like the lines were crazy. We actually had to leave one store and go to another one because the lines were.
I told Chad, I was like, I'm going to run to the liquor store because I'm out of whatever. And he goes, hey, why don't you just, for safety's sake, get 3 extra bottles of Jameson?
Yep.
And I'm like, that's just good sense. Yes. I like the way you think.
I have never been happier.
Pick up an AR while you're there, too. If you.
I have never been happier for the little Scan and Go app that Sam's has than today, because the lines at Sam's were insane. So I just went and found a little deserted aisle in the store, which was like the furniture aisle, because no one gives a rat's ass about furniture right now. So I went into the furniture aisle, scanned all my items, checked out, walked out the door, easy peasy, skipped the lines. That was the nicest thing in the world. I wish more stores had that option. I know a few are going that way, but at the same time, it also saddens me because that's the reduction of that, $7.50 an hour worker that could have a job. But I didn't have to wait in line for 15, 20 minutes to check out. So
Yeah, but that's minimum wage.
Yeah,
I mean,
but, I mean,
this is the problem with minimum wage laws.
yeah.
So minimum wage laws just make illegal, unproductive jobs. In other words, jobs that you could just be more productive in other ways. There is nothing, Andrew Yang talks a lot about, automation is coming, blah, blah, blah. We need to do something about it. The real question is, what is the fuel of automation? What is fueling automation? What is fueling all of this? It's minimum wage. It's all of this shit that the companies are like, yeah, okay, great. Like labor has become so expensive and cumbersome and arduous and lawsuits and unions and all this stuff that they're now willing to invest millions of dollars in automation so that they just literally don't have to hire somebody to do the job. So it's amazing to me when we have somebody like Andrew Yang talking about automation is coming, so we need UBI, and not in any way addressing the cause of it all.
Well put. I'm going to borrow a term from dear Russ over there. God tier point there. So I watched the presser today from Andrew Bjork. I can't pronounce that name to save my life. The acting athletic director of Texas A&M. And someone actually asked him the question, and I was surprised that this got asked on a sports director, sports athletic director thing. And someone asked him, like, hey, all these, hourly employees that y'all hire to run security, to check tickets and all that stuff, how, what's the impact that that's going to have on the local economy? And are y'all planning on doing anything to help them out? And at the same time, are y'all planning on refunding the season ticket holders that can't go to these games now because all these games are being canceled? So he did address it in his presser, and he said that they're going to look at the impact it's going to have on the ticket takers, the security guards. But he said a lot of the issue there for them is that those are third party hires; those aren't direct employees of Texas A&M.
Yep.
So he can't really speak too much to that end. But as far as the season ticket holders goes, he's like, yeah, we're definitely going to be evaluating, refunding their tickets based on how many games they could and could not go to, and if the season does get brought back up or not. Because right now there's the College World Series has been canceled, but there's nothing that says that they can't resume the season. But the NCAA did come out and say today that they're going to give all the athletes an additional year on their timeline. So normally you only get 5 years to play 4. And so this now the guys that were seniors will have that additional senior year as a spring sports player. Only applies to spring sports. Doesn't apply to winter or fall sports. Only spring sports. But they're going to give them that additional 5th year. It's going to really jack up some people's rosters as far as how many people are on the roster, because you're in effect you're going to have a double freshman class. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I hope that they go ahead and evaluate baseball and softball scholarship limits and finally get rid of this archaic idea of partial scholarships. Because right now, baseball gets like 12 scholarships, and they have to, give a full roster and bullpen on 12 scholarships. So the most any one player ever typically gets as far as a scholarship goes is like half. And that's unheard of. And that's just like if they're, they didn't go to the draft. They were, top 5 round draft pick, and they gave up going pro to come play college ball. It's typically the only time you'll see a half scholarship given out. Most of them are on a quarter or an eighth scholarship and having to pay majority of their own way.
Unless anybody else has anything they want to say on that, I would like to introduce 2 topics.
Yes, I do have something to say about it.
Okay. Sorry, go for it.
So Kyle, that's Division 1. Okay.
Yes.
Division 2 is much different. Okay. And to your point about paying employees, did you see Mark Cuban's speech yesterday?
No, I did not, but I heard someone talking about it, but I didn't catch what was actually being said.
He doesn't know how to pay the employees of the Dallas Mavericks because they're contracted out so far. He doesn't know how to. He wants to, but he doesn't know how to. Yeah. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yeah, it's gonna make some people's lives very tumultuous here soon.
Yeah.
Unless this thing clears up after the 30-day window. But even then, basketball for the most part was over. They only had like 5 or 6 games left on the slot for each team, and then the playoffs were supposed to begin. Now the NBA, being the NBA, they could delay their playoffs until after the scare is over. But then you have the Utah Jazz player being a complete dumbass and going around and touching all the mics, and then
what a bitch.
And then come up with positive for corona.
Yeah.
All right, that's it, Luke. Let's reframe.
Yeah, I've got 2 topics. These are, I think, primarily for. I don't personally have a lot to add to either of these 2 topics. It's just not my wheelhouse. But I'm interested in knowing more about both of them. Oh, our boy just messaged me.
Yeah, he's worried about you. He's worried about you, bro. I told him.
Ah, okay. Yeah, he's messaged me right now. I just got distracted.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna close this out here soon. But Shayna and Kyle, I have 2 topics for y'all because I'm really interested. One of them, and I'll introduce them chronologically. So the first one I would like to hear both of your opinions on is just the general understanding. Perhaps this is a debate, perhaps it's not. I don't know, but about the idea of sponsorships and university funding based upon gender in sports. So. The idea that more funding should be spent on football or volleyball or baseball or this sort of thing, and how some sports can be for men, some sports can be for women, this sort of thing.
Shayna is a straight up shit lib feminist, so I know what she's gonna say.
Shayna? I was about to say, I was like, Russ,
everybody knows women's sports are totally boring. So, blow it off.
I was like, Russ, you're right.
Shayna. I was kidding.
I know you were.
It's like, man, Russ, don't do this, Russ. Don't do it. I've lived with Shayna my whole life. Russ, don't do it.
I personally enjoy the hell out of volleyball, softball, and tennis.
A lot of people ask me, they're like, dude, where did you get your debate chops and your arguing chops? I'm Shayna. Like, yeah, Shayna, Shayna and my dad frustrating me to no end. That it's those 2 sources, but primarily Shayna, because Shayna's extremely quick-witted, intelligent, and funny. So
I remember some of the debates that our other brother and I had growing up, and they were the dumbest debates ever. Like, I can remember.
Don't say that, Shayna. Don't say that.
It was like the best one we ever had was what was worse for the younger generation: Harry Potter and the study of wizardry, or Grand Theft Auto and the idea of video games.
That's a great question.
My brother was like, my other brother, not Luke, was, it's witchcraft. It's wizardry. You can't teach that to children.
Was he being serious?
No, I'm sure he was just getting my goat, because I was like, Grand Theft Auto, like, you're beating up hookers, man. Get off of that.
Shayna, I have to say though, you know what inspired me to lift weights?
What's that?
Was when I was playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and that was the first game in which you could actually go into a gym and lift weights, and your character could become bigger.
That's true.
And I remember when I think it was the summer after my freshman year, going into the gym in San Andreas and lifting weights, and my character's getting bigger, and I got all like, this swell of pride from it, and I was like, fuck, I should be doing that myself. And literally, that inspired me to go to the gym. That's what got me to go to the gym and start lifting weights.
Grand Theft Auto promoted a healthy lifestyle and a good body image for you. That's
apparently
100%. 100%.
Apparently so.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
absolutely.
that was a point that our brother never made. So
Well, yeah, I mean,
that would
but
have
I
been
didn't.
damning.
But
That would have
you
been
know,
damning to my case for sure.
but it also didn't inspire me to go beat up hookers either.
Well,
So yeah.
I mean, I thought the
Which,
funniest
I
thing
did
was
plenty of that in the game. There's like it was a source of pride when you could get the car rocking back and forth.
So I thought the funniest part of that was the fact that you paid her to get that, you got the bonus health, then you beat her up and took your own money back. So I mean, it was pretty funny that you could do that transaction over and over again and completely regenerate your health. I didn't really play it myself, but I watched people play it, and I always laughed about that.
My husband what is it, a PlayStation that you play that on?
I'm sure you can do it on PlayStation or Xbox, probably computer as well.
He's like, can we get a new PlayStation? And I'm like, why? You never play video games. And he's like, so I can play Grand Theft Auto and beat up hookers. And I'm like,
it's like, I gotta beat up a hooker.
Jeez. The best part about the game, apparently. Who knew?
Okay, let's reframe back to the original question about
I forgot the question. What was the question?
Men and women's sports,
scholarships,
and non-revenue sports.
Is it proper to have policies in place that allow scholarships for some sports and not other sports based upon whether it's for men or women? Should you have equality and scholarship opportunities? Because we know that when you have that, then there's certain sports for men like men's soccer. This is why, at least I understand it to be the case. I could be wrong. I'm a total noob and amateur on this subject matter, but I understand it to be the case that the reason universities like Texas A&M doesn't have a male soccer team, or at least one that's predominant, is because they can't offer scholarships to the male soccer players, because they have to offer scholarships for the female soccer players, because there's no real opportunity for females to play football. So it creates
Title IX. It's the whole Title IX thing.
Yeah, it creates this web of who gets what. And, I'm not saying that it's, men are the victims or women are the victims. I'm sort of just opening this up to a general conversation to see what y'all think about it. Because, frankly, I don't know a lot about this sort of thing, and I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. My only opinion would just simply be that, we should allow universities to figure it out on their own and let it be what it is. But, yeah, I'm really interested in y'all's opinion.
So, Ross, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'm Russ, actually.
Russ.
But
Russ, whoever.
Do it.
So in my opinion, you need to break it into two different worlds, and that is the world of professional sports and the world of collegiate sports. So I assume in this arena, we're only talking about collegiate. When you come to the professional world of sports, I'm a strong believer in, if you bring in the money, you get paid. So this women's soccer, like, oh, the women, it's not fair that the women, win more than the men. So why do they get less money? Well, it's because, they're not bringing in billions and billions of dollars worldwide in the women's soccer arena. I'm sorry that you win more, and that really, really sucks, but it comes down to the dollars made per game. And I don't know, for some reason, guys just like watching guys play soccer better. Go figure. But
the dollars.
So
I mean, I have a theory
I'm
on
clowning you, Shayna. I'm just playing with you.
I have a theory on that, but I want you to finish, Shayna.
Okay, so if we put professional sports aside and shift over to collegiate, I think you need to ask yourself, what is the goal of collegiate sports? Is the goal of collegiate sports to make a lot of money for the university, or is the goal of collegiate sports to educate kids? And if you're going to look at it from the lens of making a lot of money, well, then same rule for professional sports applies in collegiate sports. But if you're going to look at it from the lens of, there's underprivileged men and there's underprivileged women that are great athletes and deserve an education as a part of their college experience. And by the way, they're also a very good athlete and can do a lot of things in terms of marketing the university across the US, because they're got a great sports program, a great soccer program, our equestrian team is national champions. A&M is national championships.
Indeed.
Pretty much every year, and we attract the best equestrian champions to be on our equestrian team. So why wouldn't we try to give them scholarships? Because that continues to perpetuate, visibility for Texas A&M. So, but conversely, if you look at football, for example, we're educating a lot of young men who, some of them are probably underprivileged or, need the help. They need the scholarships. They wouldn't be going to college otherwise. But on the other side, they also leave the university after 2 years or 3 years, and they try to go pro, and they don't actually finish their degree. So
that's it, Shayna. That's it.
What are we doing here? Are we trying to make money for the university in terms of ticket sales and stadiums, or are we trying to educate young people that happen to be good at sports too? So I think you need to break it down under the lens of that. And if you're going to say our goal is to educate, you got to offer scholarships equally to men and women. And it's not about the money. I don't care if you have to subsidize the women's sports program because ticket sales don't cover it. You still got to do it because that's your goal.
We subsidize the baseball team anyway, but Shayna, you hit the nail on the head. That's what it is. That the NCAA football program has relegated themselves to the minor league for the NFL. It's not about education. It's not about a free education. It's about getting into the NFL. That is a problem.
It's the puppy mill of the NFL.
Yeah. Same with basketball. Same thing. Same.
Yep.
Yeah, but with basketball, that you see a lot of basketball players join at 19, 20. You don't see that with football players. They in some sense have to go through this process of free labor, essentially, before they can get drafted into the NFL. And I don't know that I agree with that. I would like to see a more bifurcated approach to education and sports. I mean, here in Europe, they are totally separate. Education and sports are two totally different things.
And arguably, I mean, I don't know which system's better. I really don't. I mean, if you think of sports as its own industry, like, I don't know, the oil sector, it's tourism dollars, it's stadium ticket sales, it's merchandise, it's whatever. It's a whole separate industry. Why are you putting that into college?
I get it.
Well, I think still it comes back to that, we're not going to call it, socialism, whatever, but it's being able to give opportunities to young athletes who wouldn't be able to afford college otherwise. But if they're not even finishing the degree, then what the heck's the point?
Right.
And they really are just the workhorses. They really are just the money makers.
Right.
I think, and I don't know if, any of the sports experts here can comment. I believe there's discussion on monetizing NCAA athletes more and allowing them to be paid for endorsements and stuff like that. And now you just made it its own industry there's no line at all.
Well, right.
Just, you've got to drag your butt out of bed now and go to 8 a.m. classes so that you pass and can stay on the team. That's what college is for now.
Yeah, but when we talk about underprivileged kids having access to university. I mean, here in Europe, they don't need access to university. They just play the sports. They don't need to go to university at all. So, and in fact, like from a young age, around 14 or 15, parents can enroll their kids into ice hockey. Like there's schools that are specifically geared around ice hockey, or European football, or these sorts of things. And from a young age, they're sort of quote unquote groomed for that. You have to qualify for it scholastically, but in Europe, by the time you're of an age that you would go to college, you're already sorted out as having been viable as a professional athlete here in Europe. So it's like it's totally bifurcated. It's totally different here.
Yeah, it's a lot different over in Europe than it is here in the U.S. So at the college level, at least, you have your revenue sports and your non-revenue sports. So the sports that are considered revenue sports are football, basketball, and baseball to an extent. Baseball not as much as basketball and football, and some colleges basketball isn't a sport that either. So you've got majority of the sports are non-revenue. So majority of the kids coming to college every year are coming for the scholarship to get the education and better their lives. And then if you go to the revenue sports like football, and Russ, I'm going to slightly disagree with you here on this subject. Every year you have roughly 3,500 kids that are graduating, seniors and then draft-eligible juniors / redshirt sophomores, which means that they've spent at least 3 years in college, which means that they should have majority of their college career under wraps, if not completed at that time. So you have 3,500 kids that are draft-eligible roughly every year. Of that, only 254 are actually going to get drafted. And then you have another, let's say, 50 to 100. Okay, probably more than that. So maybe 150 to 200 that are going to be undrafted free agents. So at the most, every year the NFL is only taking 500 out of 3,500 kids that are draft eligible. So
how many of those return to college to finish their degree at the end of their NFL career?
So some of them are going to classes while in the NFL because the NFL is not a year-long subject.
Do.
So they're spring
Some
ball.
do.
They're going to school in the spring, and it used to be that if once you went to the NFL, you were gone, you're done, and you never came back. But nowadays, like A&M and a majority of the other schools, they still honor that scholarship. They can still come back and finish their school for free.
They do.
Yeah. So.
I think the question Russ is asking is what percentage of those kids actually do that.
Yeah, I can't speak to that number. I just know that number is significantly increased from 10 years ago. But majority of the kids enter NCAA football knowing that they're not going to the NFL. Only that top 3-4% of the echelon has a career after college. That's going to be a legitimate career after college. So only 4% are legitimate NFL prospects, so therefore 96% of them are saying, I got to get my degree because that's the only way I'm getting out of this poverty cycle that I'm in.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then the 4% that actually do get to go play NFL football, they're making good money once they get there. Now, what they do with that money, that's a different story. You do see a lot of them end up bankrupt because they don't know how
Hookers and cocaine. That's what they do with it.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, they don't know how to spend their money. They don't know how to, set up a budget, stuff of that nature.
This is why that movie or that show Ballers exists.
Exactly. And supposedly that's actually helping quite a bit. The NFL players are like, wait a minute, I'm seeing myself on screen. I see this. Okay, let me hire a financial planner like Shayna so I can, be set up for life and not just right now.
Which like there are so many. I mean, and to be fair, you don't. And Shayna, you probably know this. Like, well, not you probably. Like you certainly know this that you don't have to be rich to be dumb with your money. I've been poor and dumb with my money. I'm not rich now, but I'm not as dumb with my money as I was before. Yeah.
So. With that said, majority of the college athletics is for the education. I'm not saying it all is. There is definitely that fringe benefit where, they're there for 3 years, they're going to the NFL, and they're not, never coming back. They have no intentions of going to school. They didn't come to school to go to school. They came to school to play football or basketball or whatever it was. But I do like the system that baseball has the most. Baseball
I agree
has
entirely. Yes.
Baseball has the ability to be drafted without entering the draft. So basketball has the ability to enter the draft but not hire an agent, and if you don't get drafted, then you're allowed to come back to school. I like that, but baseball has it to where you don't even have to enter the draft and you're draft eligible. So as a baseball player, you can be drafted out of high school, you can be drafted out of JUCO, you can be drafted after your junior year and your senior year. So you have 4 opportunities to be drafted. And again, not one time did you ever have to put your name into the draft. You're just in the draft and you're eligible for it. And if you don't, if you're not offered enough money or you don't like the deal, you don't like the team that you're drafted by, you don't have to sign. You can just go to school. And there's nothing that is telling you that you are now a Oakland A if the Oakland A's drafted you. See example Kyler Murray.
Exactly.
So he even signed with them. He even got money from them, which he then had to give back when he decided to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
So the thing I don't like about the NFL and football is that if a player decides to enter his name into the draft after his junior year or after his redshirt sophomore year, because you are eligible for the draft after your redshirt sophomore year, as soon as you declare, you're done. You can't come back to school and play in school again. You're now either going to the NFL, the XFL, or to the real world. You can still stay at school and finish school, but you can't play at the collegiate level anymore.
Right.
Whereas with basketball, they have the 1 year rule. So you could go to school for 1 year, enter the draft, and be done and gone. But as long as you don't hire an agent as a basketball player and you don't get drafted, then you just tested the markets, and now you get to come back and play collegiately still.
Holy shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
But
I didn't either.
So most of those players that do that actually drop out of the draft before the draft ever happens. They go to the workouts, they get the feedback from the teams, and then come back to school going, okay, I know I got stuff to work on. Let me go work on it, fine tune it here at the collegiate level, and then once I've got that, then hopefully next year when I enter the draft again, then I will be drafted. You saw Donald Sloan do that at Texas A&M a few years back. You saw several players from Texas A&M have executed that, and I think that's a really good method. It lets those players go do the workouts with these professional teams, find out where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are, and then go work on their weaknesses so that they can come back to college, work on those weaknesses with their coaches, and then go to the NFL or the NBA after that. So that method I like a lot better than the NFL method. But the baseball method is just the best overall. Like I said, 4 chances to be drafted, whereas the NBA you have 3 because freshmen. Actually, no, you got 4 there too. Freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. You can be drafted after any one of those 4 years. You're draft eligible as soon as you're done with your freshman year, but you're not after high school. Whereas baseball, you're draft eligible after high school. So those 2 methods are a lot more pleasing to my mind than the NFL. So that one I really wish the NFL would reconsider, allow players to come out, look at their draft eligibility, see what they need to work on, go to these workouts, see what they need to work on, and if they don't like the reports they're getting, say I'm going to be a 5th round, a 6th round draft pick, but I know that if I come back and work a little bit harder, I can move my way up to the 2nd or 1st round
and get my education in the meantime.
And get my education.
Not agree more.
And then the best thing with the baseball contracts is that every single one of the baseball contracts now has it written into them that they are guaranteed by the professional team that they sign with 4 years of college after the fact. The MLB will pay for their college once they're finished with baseball.
It's fantastic. Kyle, I could not agree more with everything you just said. I could not agree more.
Now, the issue I have with baseball and softball is that they're on partial scholarships. And we brought that up earlier. They only, at most of them are getting an 1/8 of a scholarship, a 1/4 of a scholarship. Occasionally you'll see the really top-tier players get that half scholarship. But baseball has a very limited number of scholarships they can give out, and they have to carry a roster of like 25, 30. The bullpen, every infielder, that's 9 players on the infield, plus the designated hitter, that's 10. And then you got your bullpen, and that can be as big or as small as you want it. I think there's a cap on how many they can have. I want to say it's like 35. Don't quote me on that. But it's not nearly as much as football, which is 85 members. Right. And those 85 are on full scholarship. No, not partial, full scholarship. Then you have – so let's go with A&M for an example. A&M has football, women's soccer, both basketballs, baseball and softball, tennis for both teams, swimming and diving for both, track and field for both. And I'm trying to think. I think there's
archery.
Cross country.
Archery.
No, archery is not a scholarship sport.
I think it is, honestly.
That'd be my sport.
It's a club sport still. Equestrian is not an NCAA event at this time, but they are giving scholarships for it. Volleyball for the women, which goes with soccer, halfway counterbalances football. Is there any more sports I'm leaving out, Shanna, that you can remember off the top of your head?
I can't think of
Trap
any.
and skeet.
That's
but that's not a scholarship sport.
That's a club sport, like men's volleyball, like men's soccer.
Yeah.
So
Kyle,
they
could you
still
tell
go and
me the
compete.
precise
A&M has a
definition?
hockey team that's very competitive, and they go and compete against Texas. But it's not it's a club sport. It's not an NCAA sport.
Okay. Kyle, I've got to ask you, can you define club sport? What does that mean?
So a club sport is no scholarships whatsoever. Now, the club may be able to give you money, or the club may be able to give you a scholarship, but it's not going to be a full ride. It might be like a $500,000 scholarship, something of that nature, but they're not able to give you a full ride scholarship or even like a partial scholarship. They can just give you like a small stipend to come play for them. So A&M,
is this unique to Division I, or does this also exist in Division II?
I'm not 100% certain. I can only speak from my knowledge, which is A&M. So, like, I was offered an opportunity to play on the A&M men's volleyball club team.
And you should have.
Whoa, hold the phone. Are you a volleyball player? Because
I am.
I've got a city league team that might be interested in talking to you.
Okay, we can talk offline.
Okay, we'll do that.
Kyle's like, I'm underground about my volleyball skills.
No, I love volleyball. Ross and I talked with you about it. I think it was last week or the week before, but Ross and I both.
No. Shane, you talked to me about it. You didn't talk to Shane about it.
Well, yeah, no, I was saying we talked to you about it. Ross and I both grew up playing rec league volleyball for our church. Youth group volleyball, and even adult.
I'm not talking about rec league. I'm talking about legit, like my team. We're stacked at this point.
Shanna, you don't know about them church leagues, okay?
Church league in Lee County was intense. Because we ain't got nothing else to do out in Lee County but play volleyball.
I'm down for Jesus and everything, but Jesus and volleyball, there's a line, and I want to know which side you're on.
It was always volleyball. We did it at church though, so we could just immediately ask for forgiveness. See, that's how it worked. So I grew up in Lee County, Lexington, Giddings, Dimebox, the three big cities in Lee County. Every small community had a church and a gym, and at that gym we played volleyball or basketball, but a lot of times volleyball. So
all right, we'll audition you. We'll have a tryout. We'll see how you do.
I'm a good server, but I don't do overhand. I only do underhand. And also, I got the wicked spin.
Whoa, that's a disqualifier. That's a DQ right off.
I got a wicked spin on my serve. I can make them ace almost every time. But so I had the opportunity to play rec league or club level volleyball at A&M. I was in the Corps and I was going into my sophomore year, so I wanted to focus on the Corps and being an engineering major. Just didn't think I was going to have the time to be able to dedicate myself to that. I appreciated the opportunity. I also was on the A&M Skeet and Trap Club, but I was a member. I never got to go shoot because they're
Luke, this guy is like my spirit animal. Like, how many similarities?
Well, so
I think Kyle's your spirit woman.
No. Come on, man.
I'm kidding, Kyle. I say that knowing my sister. Okay.
So the issue I had with A&M Skeet and Trap, and it wasn't A&M's problem. It wasn't A&M's fault, but A&M's the national shoot against Leonard Wood and all the other schools was always on Parents Weekend, and as a member of the Corps, Parents Weekend was kind of important. So never
kind of a big deal.
Are you going to choose your parent or are you going to choose Trap and Skeet? And I got to know where you fall on that line.
So I chose my parents. My sister didn't know. She didn't join the Corps, and she actually was a member of the Trap and Skeet Club, and she shot pretty well. She was a pretty good member there.
Shannon, tell Kyle about when you and Chad got your concealed carry permit qualifications.
So I was on the Trap and Skeet team as well, but I was not one of the great shooters. Like, I wasn't one of those that breaks 25 every single time, but I could hold my own. But my husband, he's a gunsmith, so he does gun repairs and cleanings and all that stuff for people we know. And so he's very, very into guns. And he fell in love with me for the first time when I whipped his ass at a little Trap and Skeet game that we had out at Mom and Dad's place. And he tells the story differently, but the bottom line is he lost. And we're married as a result of that. But when we ended up doing our CHL, when was this? Probably 8 to 10 years ago. We've got our pistols. We're doing the little, you got to shoot in the target and you got to get a certain number of points. And long story short, he lost at that too. And he claims that it was a gun malfunction, and yet it really wasn't. So I'm just going to leave that right there.
Yeah, but tell them about how there was the police officer in y'all's class as well. And the police officer was like, my God, how could he?
The police officer, there was a police officer. He was doing his qualifications at the same time we were. And he looks at me and Chad's scores each, which the maximum score you could get was 250. And I got a 250 and Chad got a 246. And the police officer was like, my God, I feel sorry for the poor bastard that breaks into y'all's house.
Yeah, I do too. So, so Thursday on Shoe Bros Unfiltered or Unmuted, whichever we want to go with today, we have Philip Youngman coming on the show. Are you familiar with him?
Mm-mm.
So he's from Caldwell, and he shoots for the Army Marksmanship Unit, and he just qualified for the Tokyo Olympics last weekend. So second place overall.
Which will be canceled. But yeah,
don't say that yet.
They're gonna. Hey, you know what? They're gonna do it virtually. They're gonna figure out how to do trap and ski virtually.
Yeah, it'll be a video game.
It's gonna be like Duck Hunter from the old Nintendo days.
So yeah, we have him. We have him coming on the show Thursday, and we have Chris Field, who founded Mercy Project, coming on the show Tuesday. So we're looking forward to those two interviews this coming week. Those two are going to be very fun interviews that aren't as political, but we will be definitely, knowing Ross, we'll definitely be bringing politics up because that boy can bring politics into anything.
All right. Well, I want to ask one last topic, unless anybody else, Ross, goddamn, now I'm mixing it up. Ross, do you have anything else before I bring in this last topic that you wanted to add?
No, sir.
All right. So this last topic, College Station politics. Shayna, you and Kyle had y'all had a conversation through me, and I think among yourselves a little bit about Shayna, your friend who was running for Congress, and there was like a little bit of confusion. I kind of want to, I don't know, I'd be interested to hear y'all talk about that a little bit. Kyle, you had some, I wouldn't call them complaints, but you had some reservations.
Kyle was basically given some misinformation and voted incorrectly as a result of that.
All right, Shayna coming right out with it.
So
Kyle and Shayna should basically exchange numbers at this point.
We're Facebook friends.
They pretty much should, you know.
We're Facebook friends, yeah.
So there was a local election here for Texas 17. There was like 10, 12 people running on the Republican side, and then 3 or 4 running on the Democrat side. And I attended a couple events to kind of get to know the candidates, because that many candidates, it's hard to discern between any of them without really...
Wait, which one did you go to?
The Hispanic Forum at the Queen Theater.
Okay.
So...
Oh, yeah, you told me about that.
Russ is triggered.
I didn't realize you were Latino. I'm sorry about that, Kyle.
I'm not. It was an open event. It was free to the public, and it was one of the last events where a majority of the candidates were showing up to before the election. So
Kyle, I really would have expected you to go to one at the bar at Smitty K's. That's where I was.
I don't like Smitty K's. It's too loud. I'm not a fan.
Man, the place was locked down.
The
it was
food's
nice.
good, but the ambiance sucks.
Hispanics are notoriously quiet.
They were. To be honest with you, there was only like 40 people there. Big movie theater, maybe 40 people there. Majority of those people were candidates. So I was probably one of the few members of the general public that was there.
That would have been 25% of the population was candidates.
Yeah, it was a large group of candidates. So I went to the event, and I enjoyed it. I got to listen to all the candidates talk. And unfortunately for me, because that's the only thing I really cared about being there, was the Senate, the congressional race. That was the very last forum of the night. So it was supposed to have happened like 9 o'clock. It ended up happening like 10 o'clock. But your candidate was supposed to be on the last panel with the candidate that I had.
Can we name her? I mean, we're not talking about Voldemort here. Yeah.
The reason I'm not is because I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
It's Eleanor Vasali.
Okay. So I was down
She was
between...
in the core.
Is she Italian?
She's a core member. She's a core.
What year?
Is she Italian?
She is not Italian. She's actually from French and Iranian background. If memory serves.
Okay. Was she in the Corps?
Well, if you
was in the
combine
Corps.
those two, it's basically Italian. Yeah.
Basically, good mix.
Yeah.
She was the first.
Yeah, but what year?
female-
What year was she?
She was the first female in P2, and I want to say I don't know her exact class year. God, this is terrible. I want to say it was early 90s.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So
I mean, Russ, Russ, can we dox your year?
No, please, no.
All right. That's
But
fair.
So-
I probably knew her. Yeah.
So, I went to the event I wanted to see her talk. I wanted to see Trent Sutton talk. Those were the two candidates that I had narrowed down to, that I liked, my values aligned with the best. And Trent and I had gotten a hold. One of Trent's campaign managers had reached out to me about potentially coming on the show. So I wanted to meet him, talk to him, and try to actually get him to come on the show. With that said, I went to the event.
Okay.
I had a good time.
Kyle, are you talking about Trent Campbell?
No,
right
Trent
now?
Sutton.
Trent Sutton.
Okay.
Trent Sutton, who's a former Marine, retired Master Sergeant from the Marines. Good guy. Enjoyed getting to meet
Kyle,
him.
what's your stance on the Freedom Caucus?
I'm a pro Freedom Caucus person.
So he was a massive anti-Freedom Caucus.
So I talked to him about
candidate.
that, and apparently that was misinformation as well. But,
No, he said it at Smitty Cave.
well,
he was the first
I
one to be
didn't
like,
hear it,
I
so
will,
maybe he changed his
I will
stance on it.
not. He specifically said, I will not give up my voter card and join the Freedom Caucus.
So,
I mean, it was from his mouth.
Okay, well,
Shannon, let me ask you this: how would joining the Freedom Caucus give up one's voting card,
I don't know.
or not?
It doesn't. It absolutely 100% does not. But Eleanor was, castigated for the fact that she was the first one in that forum, in that Smitty Case forum, to say, I will join the Freedom Caucus if they will have me, and got a round of applause from the crowd. And then it was, I think there were a couple others, and then Trent Sutton was next, and he said, I will not join the Freedom Caucus because I will not give up my voter card. I was like, what do you mean? I had no idea what he was talking about.
so yeah, I tried to talk to him about that, and what he told me was that he was open to the idea, but he wasn't going to commit himself to it. But so I got to meet him. He came to the forum. He talked at the forum. He did very well at the forum. After the event, and Eleanor was not there. Well, she was there, but then she left. And the reason that they gave at the forum was that she had a family emergency come up, and then she had to leave. But after the event, there was a lot of people from the Hispanic forum sitting around and talking, and they're like, "Yeah, she tried to form a walkout and storm out of our event because we dared have Democrats here as well." And I was just like, man, she's not even willing to be on the same stage as a Democrat. That doesn't look well. And this wasn't any of the other candidates talking. This was members of the Hispanic Forum talking. So that just kind of rubbed me wrong. And because she wasn't there, and I didn't get to hear her talk, and I didn't get to ask her any questions after the fact, I said, okay, I'm gonna go with Trent at this time, and because Trent wanted to come on the show too, and I got to meet him. I got to talk to him. I liked what he had to say. But, I liked Eleanor, too. She was my second choice. And if she'd have stayed at that event, she probably would have won my choice. Because I talked to other people who around the community that really like her, that really spoke highly of her. And I thought she was a good candidate as well. And we just had a new member join our panel. Hello?
Oh, I bet Dan is trying to... Dan, are you there?
Yeah, just picked up sound. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right.
Glorious
dude.
bastard. How are you?
Shit, we were about to end the stream. Now we're just beginning.
What's up, gentlemen?
My wife might have something to say about that.
All right. Well, okay. Kyle, finish what you were saying. We need to finish out this conversation. Not necessarily in the stream, but we need to finish out this thread. Shayna and Kyle, Dan, just to bring you up to speed, Shayna and Kyle, we're talking about a potential
Texas 17 congressional race.
Yes, thank you, Kyle. So, anyways, Kyle, continue.
So, end of the day, neither Eleanor nor Trent qualified for the runoff, nor gained really any traction locally. We're down to, is it Jeff Sessions or Pete Sessions? I always get those two mixed.
It's Pete Sessions.
Pete
And by the
Sessions.
way, I believe Eleanor did win Brazos County, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, but not enough percentage to get into the runoff. She ended up being fourth or fifth.
Hold on, Kyle. Shayna, what were you saying?
Eleanor finished. I don't know if she's finished first in Brazos County, but she finished first or second in Brazos County. So she got a lot of traction here locally because she had been on city council and had voted in an extremely conservative manner while she served on city council. So she gained a lot of traction here locally. It was in the rural markets in Waco, which is where most of the other candidates were from, including Renee Swan, who was number 2. So right now it's a runoff on May something, where Pete Sessions is running against Renee Swan.
And I'm honestly surprised we're not hearing a lot more about that election right now. I've seen very little in the form of political advertisements at this time.
It's because they're absolutely both terrible candidates. That's why. Nobody cares. It's over.
So, yeah.
It's
I love my sis.
She's pretty good, man. She's pretty good.
So, yeah, those are our two options right now, is Pete Sessions and Renee Swan. Renee Swan is who got the endorsement from Bill Flores, the outgoing congressman here. Which,
by the way, there's a big thing about Bill Flores as well, right?
Oh, there's a huge,
I heard there was uprising against him. I heard that.
His son kind of did some dumbass things, like verbally harass Eleanor via Facebook chat, right? Facebook Messenger. Kind of just went off on her. Very uncouth, like. So
yeah, but I think it was more of it exposed a pattern of behavior.
It did, very much. She texted me that screenshot. He sent it to her in the middle of the night after election night. It was like 3 a.m, like the devil's hour. Hello.
And what was the screen? And was a screenshot. And before that, like we should also
night? What election night?
The primary March, whatever. Yeah, 3 a.m. on March 3rd evening. He sends her this text.
And we should also talk about like Bill Flores, like for anybody who doesn't know. I mean, we're all from the area. Dan, you're from the area as well, but maybe you don't even know that much about this. So Bill Flores has been our congressional candidate for Central Texas, Brazos Valley for Shayna. I don't know how many years. 10 years.
I mean,
12.
12. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said he was going to vacate the seat, after like 12 years, but he's always been like the conservative. I always remember his advertisements on the radio all the time, because on talk radio and whatnot. And so after all this time, so now he's retiring, which was to be expected, to be fair to him, because he said that from the beginning. Now everybody's wondering, well, who's he going to sort of pass the torch on to? And this is a big conversation. And so Shayna, describe what happened with this, what we're talking about now.
So there was always he's like you said, the conservative. The question was, how often did he actually vote conservative? And it was surprisingly less than you would think, considering that's what he marketed himself as. But then it was, you're right. Who's he going to endorse? So he initially sent money to 6 different candidates. And then he found out 3 of those 6 candidates had stated that they were going to join the Freedom Caucus. And then he immediately asked for his money back from those 3 candidates, because even though he was the conservative's conservative, he did not join the Freedom Caucus, ran as a quote, quote, Tea Party member, and writing that Tea Party member wave whenever that happened when he first got elected, but yet refused to embrace the Tea Party once he actually got up there.
And for those who don't know, the Freedom Caucus is the political manifestation of the Tea Party.
Indeed, sir.
So he didn't join the Freedom Caucus. So then he asked for his money back, and Eleanor's got a variety of, like, this one from Will was just the cherry on top, that she's like, I'm going to go ahead and share this. multiple text messages, Facebook messages, whatever, screenshots of things that she had been told by the Flores campaign as a result of her saying that she would join the Freedom Caucus. And it's ugly. I mean, she could destroy reputations with some of this stuff. It's pretty crazy. But go ahead.
So it sheds light on
yeah,
who Bill Flores. Yeah.
He's like the mafia in Bryan College Station. But anyways.
Yeah, okay, got it. Okay.
So let's keep going. So then he knows Eleanor, and he tells Eleanor, you should run. We need a woman from Brazos County, a minority, blah, blah, blah. Somebody who's in the Corps, somebody who has ties with A&M. Like, he was the one that pretty much convinced her, like, you should run and I'm going to back you. And then this Freedom Caucus comment comes up. He wants his money back. Eleanor's gracious and says, you can have your money back, but this is the way I'm going to go. I've never been dishonest with you about my affiliations and my principles and what I believe. This is what I believe, and this is the group that aligns to it. So no, I'm unabashedly unashamed of wanting to partner with them if I were to win. And so he asked for his money back. Some other stuff had happened that I'm not going to really get into, that Bill was like, yeah, you're not my person. And it really, what it amounts to is she was not going to be under his thumb. Like, she was her own person. She was going to form her own opinions. She's not a cuck. So she was going to do what she wanted to do because it was the right thing, not because that's what Bill Flores told her to do.
God forbid she has principles.
God forbid she has principles. And she got him out the yin yang. So anyways, so then he goes on. Renee Swan comes on board. She's the spouse of a person who owns like a optometry business or something up in Waco. So her big thing is healthcare and socialized medicine and blah, blah, blah. And that's the worst thing that could ever happen in the United States. And so I'm going to fight it. I'm conservative, blah, blah, blah. She hires Bill Flores as campaign manager to manage her campaign. She says, I'm not going to join the Freedom Caucus. And all of a sudden, Bill Flores is like, boom, boom, you checked my boxes, so you're getting my endorsement. And Trent Sutton and all these other people, who were vying for it, just didn't check enough boxes on his part. So she gets his endorsement, which propels her into the number 2 spot. So we've basically got somebody in the run, somebody who is under Pete Sessions, who's been in Congress since the 90s. He's served 3 different districts. He bought a house when Bill Flores was stepping down here in CD 17. So now he's the carpetbagger. But at the end of the day, we look at his voting record. It's actually better than Bill Flores's in terms of conservative causes. And so we're like, well, do we vote for the carpetbagger who actually is more conservative than Bill Flores, or do we vote for the one that Bill Flores wants? With all this shady stuff going on, those are our 2 choices. So
the carpetbagger,
done.
The carpetbagger, straight up.
That's where I'm leaning. That is where I'm leaning. Let's
to defend the carpetbagger a little, not a lot, but a little. He grew up in Waco, so he moved home to run in his home district. So he's not a true carpetbagger in the fact that he came from the north, like the Yankee
we'll
land.
Call that like a 60% carpetbagger.
Yeah, I mean he'd been
60% carpetbagger.
Yeah, he'd been in the Dallas-Fort Worth region for a while, and then when he got unseated there, he moved back to Waco. Yeah,
but I think that what Shane is getting at is more about like the principles, the ideas. I mean, carpets are bagged, but let's talk about the ideas.
Well, and somebody else made a comment, and this actually really spoke to me. It's like in Washington, Eleanor going to Washington as a freshman, Renee Swan going to Congress as a freshman, Washington, having to deal with what you have to deal with up there. How much power are they actually going to have? They're the freshmen, right? Well, Pete Sessions has been there since the 90s. Like, how much power, if we elect him, is our district then going to have on the congressional stage? Because he knows how it works, and he knows he's already got the contacts in place. So all of a sudden, our district jumps up to the,
ask
top tier in
AOC
terms
that
of-
question, darling. Honestly, ask AOC that question.
Just need a sweet dance video and you're all set.
TikTok
much.
account, yeah, for sure.
pretty much.
Does AOC have any TikTok videos? I mean, that would be interesting. Okay.
I'm not 100% certain.
Not yet, but she will soon.
I just know that there was a picture of her floated around last week that I had to send to Ross, and
the one with her titties.
Yeah.
That one.
yeah,
Yeah. They
Uh,
blonde
I've seen
her
the one with the guy,
and
like,
whited
holding-
her and blue-eyed her every which way, just so you know.
Yeah.
They have.
that was
Yeah.
that one. I knew it was fake, but it was like, meh, not bad.
Sorry, Shayna. I know you're a shit-lib feminist. Sorry about that, but like it was her titties. It was her titties. Sorry.
You know what,
Sorry.
Russ? Maybe I haven't made myself clear enough on this particular broadcast.
Kidding you.
Actually, can I on behalf of all the shitlib feminists out there in the world, let me just say, I'm a feminist, but only when it was like the legit feminists back in the 70s that actually towed their own line. They did the work.
Second
said,
wave. You're a second wave feminist.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
I knew. Yeah,
yeah.
there were phases. Whatever the
Yeah.
first ones were, not this third wave crap.
Yeah.
Whatever the
Yeah,
first ones were.
the first wave feminism was the feminism, which was like the women's suffrage movement, to get women the right to vote, things like this. Then there was a second wave of feminism, which was, Russ, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like in the 50s, maybe the early 60s, when it
It was
was
the right to not shave your underarm hair in the 50s. Kidding. Go on.
no.
Hey,
Then it was
Do we
like
want to go into
no.
how long it's been since I shaved my underarms? Do we really want to
Dang.
go there?
Dang.
Because I will
Dang.
throw that down.
Oh god,
Dang. No
I don't
wonder
want
you
to
don't want to be on camera. No wonder.
yeah, I'm about to go. Boop. Luke has dropped off of the stream.
It's more of that. Mama ain't got time to shave the armpits. I
Understood.
got shit to do.
Entirely, ma'am.
I personally think that's
Understood.
probably has more to do with CrossFit, but
Well, you know, gets in way of my rowing time. So whatever.
yeah, it's like it's like a kip, 3 kipping pull-ups, 2 push-ups, 3 wall jumps, and 2 times of not shaving your armpits. Is like a workout,
You know, if you bring hair to the CrossFit Games in your armpits, it's like, that's a good, 3 or 4 different kipping pull-ups you could have done in the amount of time that it took you to shave those.
I have to say this. So in Europe, men, everybody shaves their armpits, and I was mortified at the concept of shaving my armpits when I came to Europe, like when we went to a lake or a pool or something. And Jessica was like, it's fine if you don't want to, but it's really weird if you don't.
But you should.
Yeah. And I was like,
all right, so can I just make a rule then? Every time Russ refers to me as a shitlib feminist, I get to say, well, Luke's a hairless armpit European Euro trash.
Well, to be fair, Shayna, I am so swarthy. I don't shave my armpits, but I do click them. I do clip.
You're a manscaper. You manscape.
Yeah, I am.
I get it.
Yeah.
I also have to say, Russ. Okay, so
it needs to be done.
Shayna is one of the most vicious human beings on this planet that you can argue with.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I am where I am today in my ability to argue for a reason. My dad is.
I pull no punches.
My dad is one of them, but my sister is like my dad's. My sister is like my dad's a salesman. He's a hard worker. He reads a lot. He's read a lot of history. Shayna's like that plus smart. So.
I say all the stuff he wishes he could say.
Yeah. So she's like both intelligent and well-read. It's like a.
I'm a version of my mom and my dad.
Dang.
Yeah, she's a nasty mix.
Well, I know them both. For the record, I know them both, and yeah, that sounds vicious.
Okay, what were we talking about? I lost.
Well, I think we should just move on to the canceling of sports events. Dan, welcome.
Oh, wait. Did we finish? Hold on. Did we finish the CD17? Were there any questions on that? Concerns? Any question on who to vote for?
No, I think that was pretty comprehensive, and honestly, I've been wondering that. So I think it's good. I think it's good. Yeah.
Really, especially when he sent that message to her when Bill Flores.
Say it again, ma'am. Could you say it again, please?
when Bill Flores' son sent that message to her in the middle of the night, basically saying, haha, you lost. Imagine what you could have been if you'd have been my dad's, bitch.
I think I've sent that text to people at 2 a.m. before.
Election night. I could see that. Anyways, that got really ugly. I mean, it spread like wildfire across district. I mean, the best part was when he referred to Brazos County voters as irrelevant idiots. That's what he said.
Yep, that was
in the
screenshot.
Imagine what you could have done had you not placated to a bunch of irrelevant idiots in Brazos County. Was word for word what he said. And that has spread like wildfire across Brazos County. Renee Swan has been making the rounds, because she's tied to an endorsement from someone like that.
Unfucking believable. Pardon me. I'm sorry. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So
we are the new Brazos County exposing it. Eleanor is, and so I got to give her props for that. But we'll see. I mean, I think
is she still running? Like is she dropped out of the race? Like, is it done or?
I mean, it's the runoff is in a. Oh, you talking about Eleanor or Renee?
Just in general, like I don't know. I have no idea. Like,
the race is the runoff on the primary is between Sessions and Renee Swan, and it is in like a month or month and a half, somewhere around there, like the beginning of May. And so the question is, out of the two of them, who will get the Republican spot? That is who will run against the Democrat in November. But I can't imagine a Democrat winning this district. We're still very conservative, and so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the real question is that who the person on the right is if they're basically a Democrat. Because this is the people we're trying to purge.
Yeah.
Like, your girl, Eleanor, like, this is the person who should be holding that seat.
Yeah, and she would be, but for Bill Flores and his need to be involved.
Yeah, who are... I don't know that I would call Bill Flores a rhino or a cuck or anything like this, but he's basically, it seems, in it for reasons other than philosophical principles. I'll put it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Power. He's a power guy.
All right. Dan, welcome. Shayna, do you know Dan?
We've never met. Actually, I've never met anybody on this except for you, Luke, so...
Oh, okay. Well, my bad. Yeah, now that we're like many hours into this. So, first of all, Dan and I worked together when I was in Texas Roadhouse. And I remember being intimidated by him because he was initially stationed on salads and he had huge biceps. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? He's this new guy making these salads with huge biceps. How does that even compute? But, so Dan, welcome. Shayna's my sister. We've also got Kyle, Shayna, Kyle, and I. Kyle, you were 08, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I was a junior when Kyle was a fish. Both in Squadron 8. Russ is BQ. I can't dox your year, but can I say what you actually did in the Corps, Russ?
Sure.
Yeah, you were bugle rank. Yeah. So Russ is hardcore Corps
cadet. He couldn't actually play an instrument, so he just carried one. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. I mean,
what did you actually do in the band?
Cause trouble. And by the way, Kyle, I showed up. I played baritone, right, and trombone in high school, and I showed up, and I could not play bass horn, but I wanted to be a bass player, right? So I showed up not knowing how to read bass clef, not knowing how to play bass, and I worked it out with a lot of PT. I worked it out. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got one last subject on the docket, and that's Sports
Damn, these
Mageddon.
subjects keep going on and on and on. All right. What's the last, bro? What's the last?
Sports Mageddon. All the sports being canceled. Dan, what? Dan, let me ask you this: what are these people in the Northeast? These crazy Bostonites and brah, I'm gonna lift weights, brah, but I can't go to the game anymore.
Yeah, as far as having my finger on the pulse of sports fans here, I've spent the past 6 years trying to avoid sports fans here. Because I don't know if any of you know my history, but I have absolutely always hated Boston sports with a burning passion. So I don't know why I ended up moving here. So it's been a fun few years being around the folks up here, and there are some good folks, but in general, I really do just avoid it. I try not to talk about Patriots, Red Sox, any of that stuff, because it just makes me angry at the end of the day. But honestly, as far as the topic in general goes, coronavirus aside, I'm kind of glad they're just straight up canceling things at this point, because it was actually a message I sent to Luke the other day. I was like, in the early stages of this, they were just shutting out fans for these sporting events. And I'm like, so wait, is there an intrinsic value to putting a ball through a net or a puck in a net if nobody's watching? Like, if LeBron dunks in the woods and nobody's there.
That sounds fun to watch.
So
it's really fun to watch.
I will say that there is, because after 9/11, one of the things that helped us as a nation get back into being normal Americans again was when college football came back on. That was a return to normalcy. We're still here. We're still proud. We're still fighting. We are still going to be Americans no matter what. You Talibani, you Afghani, you whatever Al-Qaeda mother truckers can do, you aren't going to be able to stop us. We are still going to enjoy our American values, our American freedom. We're going to go out there, groups of 80, 90,000 people at a time, and watch people play football. That was what really brought us back from being in this doom and gloom back into, fuck yeah, we're Americans. So,
but can I ask you? So, do you remember the SNL skit with Will Ferrell wearing the United States underwear when he's walking into the office?
No.
Okay, so right after 9/11, SNL was grappling with this problem with how do we bring comedy into this atmosphere, and they were like, well, we're gonna do it through absurdity, right? And I mean, the absurdity was of how patriotic we were in the days
stop
after.
Making that noise, bro. Is it you, Dan, or Shayna? Of course it's you. Stop.
She's making another
drink.
I'm swinging on my porch swing. Thank you very much.
Well, that noise is impermissible.
I'll lock it down. I will lock it down.
Okay. Respectfully, ma'am.
Apologies to all. Apologies.
Yeah, there was like in the days after 9/11, it was like I personally I don't think that I think the nation was quite together in the days after 9/11, and SNL dramatized that in the skit with Will Ferrell walking around in his American flag underwear in the office, like, oh hey, what's up? Yeah, America. It's like I don't know. Perhaps perhaps football was an instantiation of that, but I mean, I don't know. The days after 9/11, I can't imagine a situation in our current political climate in which we are as unified as we were in the 24 hours, 48 hours week following 9/11. I don't frankly, I mean, I was a senior in high school at that time. I don't even remember college football at all during that time. I was in college.
You don't remember the red, white, and blue game?
Yeah,
actually,
that was epic.
I do.
Yeah. But again, that was but one example.
I mean, one of many though. A&M did it, and then several other schools did something similar. Not as epic or as unifying as A&M did with the
Sure.
whole each individual deck having a different color, but that was one of those things. And then another example is after the '99 bonfire collapse.
Oh no!
Cal, just to bounce back to you, I think you're misunderstanding my point there. I'm not saying there's not unification behind it and things like that. I was just saying, when they were in those early stages before they started canceling these things, and they were still holding sporting events and just not allowing people to be there.
Yeah.
That was just bizarre to me. It's like if nobody's allowed to watch or be involved outside of college sports. Like I've listened to your episode with your brother talking about the issues there as far as the college students needing to be able to play and the complications there and all that. But when you're talking like pro sports and we're going to hold the event, but nobody's going to watch, it was just confusing to me. Like, what's the value with that?
No one would be there. No one would be in the stands, but we could still watch it on TV. And right now, that's the issue for me, is that I'm sitting here at home being told to social distance, and I have nothing other than maybe bowling and cornhole to watch on ESPN.
Well,
what more does
that
an egg need?
I mean, actually,
Luke.
like Kyle, and to push back a little bit, Pornhub actually announced today that they're giving free premium subscriptions to South Korea.
Oh, they had done Italy the other day too, so I saw that. So I didn't know they had done South Korea as well.
Fuck is this? Fuck is this?
Did you not know that? Yeah. No. Pornhub's like, anybody that's on lockdown, you get premium subscription.
That's capitalism at its finest, right there, baby.
Absolutely, buddy.
They said to not touch your face. They didn't say anything about.
Oh my god!
The thing I love about Pornhub is that I
can't laugh too hard because I'm gonna wake Jessica up.
The thing I love about Pornhub is that they release their analytics to the public, and it's hilarious to see like what's the most common porn watched in each state, and of course Alabama is siblings. It's everywhere.
Well, it's weird though, right? Like in Europe as well, it's like stepsister, stepbrother. Like, I don't know, man. Like, that's weird. It's never crossed through my head ever.
I would appreciate it if we could not talk about Pornhub. I mean, I'm just saying.
I mean, that's a fair request, Russ. Yeah.
Okay.
He's just upset he found out we don't get premium and they do.
Russ, you need to come on over here to Europe. We got free premium streaming.
Just small risk of coronavirus. Small risk.
Yeah. Slight risk of coronavirus.
How much is it worth to you?
Yeah. How much is that Pornhub premium subscription worth? 3 to 5% chance of death. Yeah.
I'll take those odds.
Yeah.
Raising the heartbeat improves your immune system, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
spring. Winter's almost over, anyways.
I actually saw that men are actually recommended to do such activities because it does increase your immune system.
Watch Pornhub.
The thing associated activity.
The thing you do while watching Pornhub.
That's enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do. I mean, I just watch it for entertainment.
You watch for the plot and the dialogue.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's a great plot, great dialogue.
Shit, do you watch this shit? Seriously?
It's great plot. Production quality has been increasing over time.
The acting is just, stellar.
She does. Oh my god.
I'm just waiting for a Brad Pitt or an Angelina Jolie to get cast in a role.
Hey, they've shut down all the movie theaters too. I mean, those Hollywood people are going to be hurting. So, hurting
for sporting.
They might be looking for options. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think Russ is about to blow a gasket.
Okay.
I think Russ is triggered.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little bit disappointed in most of y'all, but I'm okay.
We're red-blooded Americans, sir.
Dude, Kyle, I have to say, so we were so just to explain to everybody here, so Jessica comes to me like 2 or 3 days ago, and she's like, "Hey, I'm interning for this class, and I'm supposed to assemble this lesson plan on oil, right?" And what reminded me of this is, Kyle, your red-blooded American comment. And I was like, "Oh, and she was like, do you know anybody that could speak about oil?" And I was like, "Well, Ross, like Ross can speak about anything, but oil, I mean, you can just give him a microphone, he'll go on
and on and on
and on
and on
and on."
and on.
Yeah.
And on.
So anyways, so we set up this little like video chat, so that Ross can communicate with Jessica's students. So they do this like little 10 or 15-minute thing, right? So leading up to that, I told Ross, I was like, "Dude, you have to eat a hamburger during the video chat with Jessica's 8th grade students." He's like, "Dude, I'm keto." And I was like, "Well, take the burger patties out of the middle of the hamburger and eat it. You have to do it for these kids, man. This is your American, rather than oil well. You got to eat a hamburger for these kids. You got to do it." And he wouldn't do it. So today, Jessica and I are going to the grocery store. Ross calls me to see how it went, have a like post conversation about it. And as we're talking, we hear Ross like turn his attention away, and he's like, "Yeah, a Big Mac, please. Yeah, Big Mac. Yeah." And then somebody goes, "All right, sir, that'll be $4.32."
Damn, it's 6:32 where I'm at. It's 6:32.
I don't remember what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I was like giving him shit. I was like, "Dude, you have to eat a hamburger during this video chat with these German kids." And then in his like follow-up call to see how it went, he's ordering a Big Mac in the middle of it. I was like, "Dude, come on, man."
So he was probably ordering it for his wife or something, but yeah, that's pretty.
He was
funny.
actually, he was actually, because I asked him. I was like, "Dude, what's up with the keto?" He's like, "Oh, that's actually for my wife." And I was like, okay.
Yeah. So, hey guys, it's 7:40, and my wife really wants to go for a walk, and unfortunately, I'm hosting the stream.
A walk or a Big Mac?
A walk.
Okay.
Or both.
There's no McDonald's close enough. Well, actually, kind of. There's a McDonald's close enough to walk to, but it'd be a good hike.
Uber Eats. Yeah, there's Uber Eats and.
Nah, we ain't doing that. But yeah, so it's been a pleasure.
Let's do it, Kyle. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so it's been a pleasure. Like I was saying earlier, Tuesday night we have Chris Field coming on the channel to be interviewed. He's the founder of Mercy Project. He's a great gentleman. He's been on TED Talks not once but twice. And then Thursday night we have
TED Talks. By the way, I hate TED Talks.
Yeah, but it's cool to be invited to them. So he's been on twice. And then we have Philip Youngman coming on Thursday night. He's just recently been named an Olympic shooter. He's going to be shooting for USA in international skeet over in Tokyo, providing the Wu flu don't cancel it.
Virtually shooting. It's a virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically Duck Hunter 64.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And then you can find me on Twitter at Kyle Schumann08. Anyone else would like to give their contact information, please feel free to do so at this time.
Dan?
Oh, good Lord. My Twitter exists basically to follow y'all and for me to have a place to vent when I'm drunk where no one will hear it. So no.
Understood.
No worries. You can find me at my Twitter handle is so bad. It's at Skinner Lucifer, SKINNER LUKEFAHR.
God, that is your whole maiden name and everything. Damn.
Yeah, no, total docs. I mean, my philosophy is just docs.
Put the last four of your social in there too, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I should, I'm just full on docs. My opinion is just docs. Bring it, bring it. By the way, I had some dude come at me today, driving down the road, jumped out of his car because I brake checked him, and I wanted to beat the shit out of him, but I couldn't because it's Germany and I don't know what would happen. Anyways, yes, Twitter at Skinner, SKINNER, Lukefer, LUKEFAHR. Shayna, I don't even know. I mean, I don't. You're in this for the fun of it. I don't know if you want anybody to find you through this medium.
I have no online presence when I'm affiliated with you all.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. She is basically non-existent aside from her sultry voice and amazing thoughts. I should say.
Shayna,
Russ,
you were the thrill of my life tonight. You were the thrill, straight up. I had so much fun.
Easy, Ross. Easy, Ross. Her. Easy, Russ.
Russ. God damn it! It's both of y'all twice. Done this.
I'll try to be a little more sultry and a little more feministy on the next one. How about
that?
Okay, good,
you won't like her so much anymore, Russ.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Russ, how can they find you?
Russ ZGM, man, and I hate it. I by the way, I got OS cucked, right? And I have not been able to log into my Twitter since then. I've got a password recover. Dear listener, if I've not responded to you, it's because I can't get into Twitter, and that's a fact. Yeah.
#boomer.
Cut that shit out, man. Cut that shit out. I was glad to see you until you said that, Dan. I was glad to see you.
All right, and then we also have at Zero Gravity Med for Twitter. Please feel free to follow every single one of us on Twitter. Our website is zero-gravity-media.com. Go to SoundCloud, GitHub, iTunes, whatever your podcast of choice other than Spotify or Google Play.
Pornhub.
What? I don't know. I just making shit up. So go
Zero Gravity Media, now free in Italy.
Yeah. So go to whatever your thanks guys. Got me off on a roll. Go to whatever your podcast medium of choice is, and then also join us here on YouTube as we broadcast live. My brother and I are doing our show exclusively here on YouTube now, and then Zero Gravity Media will have events. We're going to try to do Friday night comfy post, pretty regular. Now that we don't have Aggie baseball, don't understand why we wouldn't. So
we wouldn't need to anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Feel
free to
Friday
like,
night comfy post,
and turn on them notifications so you know when we're going live.
All right, peace out, everybody.
Have a good night. Thanks and gig 'em.
Bye.
Gig 'em.
I got people looking out for me. I guess I said enough.